Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Matt Burtz.
Hello, sir.
J.V. Gwaltney.
What's up?
And Dan Tack.
Word.
And we have another special guest. We have professional game reviewer Steve Gaynor from Fullbright. Welcome, Steve.
Professional game water?
This is your second time on the show to talk about games. Resident Evil 7 we had you not too long ago.
You guys review it. Let's get it straight. Yeah, hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it was great being on to talk about RE7 that one time, and looking forward to chatting with you guys more.
Yeah, Steve's an expert. He's making Tacoma. If you didn't know, it's a game about exploring an abandoned space station, so he's the perfect guest to have on to talk about Prey. And he's been streaming a ton of it, and I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts, sir.
Cool, yeah.
And then after all that, then we're talking about some weird things. We're talking about Fire Emblem, new Fire Emblem game. Dawn of War 3, Dan, a little bit, if you're up for that.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then NBA Battlegrounds.
Strafe.
Playground.
Don't forget Strafe.
It's not nearly as militant as you make it sound.
Player Unknown's NBA Playgrounds.
Now that would be a game.
Don't forget. After that, we have some great emails from the community. And
We're
then
talking about Strafe too, yeah?
Oh my God,
Come
Strafe.
on.
Hang on, writing it down.
That's
yes,
a big one.
Absolutely. And then after all that, we have some community emails. And then back half of the show is where it gets scattered but good. We have Patricia Summersett, who's the voice actress responsible for being Zelda in Breath of the Wild.
Ooh, wow.
A bizarre guest, but we get to hear the entire saga of recording that, what it was like working with Nintendo. She has an interesting perspective. She talks about some of the feedback that the internet launched
has
her
kindly
way.
given.
Right. So
Yeah.
we talk about all that stuff. It's fun. And then after that, we have the interns, Game Informer's interns that we're saying goodbye to. So this is Manon, Zach, Jordan. They talk about their experience being interns at Game Informer, and then we also play back of the box trivia with them, and they are surprisingly good. And we focus on one console again, so stay tuned for that. It's a good time.
So this is like a 2 VHS episode.
Yeah, this is a big
It's
show.
going to be
This is
a
the real
beast.
big
The Barry
show.
Lyndon of...
It's always been described that way. But for now, Prey. With Bethesda's review policy, it's confusing. It's not great for us. Sometimes it's not great for consumers because Prey came out on Friday, and I feel like it's everyone just biting into a jelly bean and then chewing it and trying to figure out what is the flavor here. Is this good? Should we recommend it? Where are we at? JV, you've been cramming all weekend, and you managed to beat this thing.
Yeah, I've been playing because technically, we got it a day before release.
Sure.
We got it like 8:00 Thursday morning, and I was done with it. I want to say by, I saw credits roll by Saturday midnight.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Pretty good,
yeah.
man.
So yeah, where should we start with Prey?
What did you think of it?
No ending spoilers for me.
No
Absolutely
ending
not.
spoilers.
I was also cramming on it all weekend. Well, not all weekend, but I was doing a lot of cramming over the weekend. But I'm being like very completionist, and I'm doing it over a stream, so there's like stream chat and stuff. So I haven't gotten to the end. So as long as there's no ending spoilers, I'm happy.
No,
We're not going to
absolutely
talk
not.
the ending. Yeah, no.
Okay.
So here's the arc that I saw. We were streaming it on Thursday actually, and a lot of the chat had played the demo and they weren't wowed by the first hour. I think there's some interesting elements in there, but a lot of the chat was bracing for a negative impact on this game. How did this game evolve? Where'd you end up thinking the overall quality?
Yeah, I think the demo, it's really strange because I'm actually a big fan of demos, mostly as like a throwback sort of thing, because I used to like download demos all the time on dial-up. So we're talking like Half-Life and stuff. It was great.
Yeah.
Fun times, the dark ages. So I was really excited for this, but I think that the Prey demo honestly does a bad job of showing what's special about this game, because for me and a lot of other people that I've talked to who have played it, the first 3 or 4 hours are rough. Like basically the only powers you can really get, like the majority of powers you can get in those first 3 to 4 hours are stat buffs, so like health and stuff. And there's the occasional, like you can pick up things, heavier things. But as far as like alien powers and being able to turn into like a cup and, stuff that can solve puzzles, that doesn't come along until like 2 or 3 hours after that demo. And those powers and the glue gun, the glue gun or the glue cannon are like what's special about Prey. When you have those two things together, they give you basically a huge toolbox to just play your own way through the game. So, you might come across a security office that's locked, and there are several ways to get in. You can go and find the key card if you want. You can use the glue gun if like the top of the security booth has an open roof. There's no roof on top of it or ceiling. You can just build a staircase and hop over it. You can turn into a cup and sort of get through one of the smaller openings. So there are a lot of ways to play, and you don't really get all those tools until you get a fair bit into the game.
So you just kept getting warmer and warmer on the game overall then?
Yeah, I was really rough on it in the first 3 or 4 hours, but once I got access to those powers. It became a consistently better experiences. There are still some lows, like there's sort of a filler segment that I'm not a fan of that we won't get into on the show, but it's mostly really, really good, especially just how much it gives you to solve your objectives and stuff. And a lot of the side missions are great. Like, I love the characters. I was talking with Kim about this earlier. Prey has the audio log storytelling bit thing that, like, you know, BioShock does, that System Shock does. But what makes Prey interesting is that I feel like where BioShock sort of focused on world building, engineering aspects, almost like Will or Bill or whatever his name is in BioShock, you know, all of his audio logs are basically like, oh, this is how BioShock functioned from an engineer perspective. You know, we got to fix all the pipes, this and that. Whereas in Prey, it's about these people and their personal lives. Like, you'll come across audio tapes about two characters who are dating. You know, one of the recurring themes that shows up is that these characters play like Dungeons and Dragons, or like some spinoff of Dungeons and Dragons, and you'll come across like their tabletop board game stuff, and you'll come across emails and audio logs that all tie into that. And it should be like such a small thing, like such a little small personal detail that any other game would have, like, oh, one thing dedicated to it, like an email. But it's like an entire thread that you come across over and over again that shows how close these people were, what the relationships were to each other, and so on and so forth. And that was like the strongest thing for me, is like, oh, these aren't just NPCs, like random NPCs in other games. These are characters that you get to know.
So you're trying to play Prey like it's Tacoma?
No comment.
Well, Steve, as somebody who worked on BioShock 2 and a little bit of BioShock Infinite, right? Yeah. Not to mention Gone Home, Tacoma. What stands out to you about Prey? What's interesting about this game for your experience so far?
Well, I think that I had a kind of similar-ish experience to JV in the first hour. So, context. So they released the opening hour demo, which I played for a total of 6 hours because I'm a very, like, this is totally my kind of game, and System Shock 2 and the original BioShock and Deus Ex, you know, the Dishonored games, these games where you really can use all these abilities you have to just fully explore every detail in these big interconnected spaces are really exciting to me. And so I had a similar kind of experience to JV, except for me, it wasn't really about like the alien powers or the additional upgrades you get. For me, when I was playing the demo, it took me like an hour or two just to get to the point where you really kind of get out into the lobby and you have access to, well, I could go to that office or up these stairs or over there, and here's this locked door. But I think if I got around to the backside, I could get in and all that kind of stuff. And then once I got to that point, I started to see all the different systems interconnected, like turrets and mimics and the abilities you actually have, like JV was saying, the glue gun that is able to say, I can't get up on that balcony in any way except if I build a pathway up there, and then you can. And so for me, it was like after that first couple hours of just sort of stepping through the introductions of just like, here are the basics, go here, now go here, now go here. And then when I was really let loose, even though I didn't have the ability to morph or, you know, mind control enemies or anything like that, just that really, like, all those different aspects clicking into place to say, oh, this is one of these, you know what I mean? Like, I'm finally in like a hub. Like, I really love the hub spaces, specifically like the city hubs in the new Deus Ex game. So Deus Ex Human Revolution and Deus Ex Mankind Divided, the Detroit and China and Prague city hubs. They're just like, you have this whole space that's open to you, but not like an open world. It's a very kind of like approachable, higher detail, kind of human scale, but sprawling and interconnected space. And kind of, after you get a couple hours into Prey, you start to see how all that connects, and you're able to say, I have decided I've got this quest goal, but my goal is to get up into that locked office and see what's in there, and I actually have the ability to do that. And so that's really exciting. And that's been what's really been kind of driving me through the whole game up to this point.
Yeah, I think Sean Elliott, who worked on BioShock Infinite, now he's working on Prey as a designer, he had an interesting tweet where he just said, like, you know, obviously our goal with Prey is to say yes to the player as much as possible, which is something that we weren't quite able to do as much with BioShock as we would have wanted. So, Steve, from your experience, why is it so tough to say yes to the player as much as Prey does?
I mean, so much of it is just like complexity and density. You know, like when you look at something like, weirdly, one of the most recent, most direct comparisons, I think, is the new Zelda game, where it's similarly sort of like the reason it can feel so rich, and that we can say, that the designers can say to the player, approach this however you want, is because they've just done a ton of very hard work to give you access to all these complex systems, and just like building the systems, making sure they don't break each other, making sure they actually support each other, making sure that they're satisfying to use, and that you aren't encouraged just to find like your one perfect ability that solves every problem and use nothing but that. It's like a difficult design overlap of just like, well, we have all these dozens of things, let's balance them all. And then B, it's like just a tech and work question of like, that's a lot. You got to make a lot, right? Like when you look at something like Prey or like System Shock 2 or like the BioShock games, they don't come together until you have this critical mass of like enough different things all going on that it has that dynamism that you feel like you really are making your own choices, as opposed to just saying, am I going to do door A or door B, that the designers have said I can pick one of these few options to move forward. It's like dense and complex enough that you're in that space and thinking of it outside of just like a handful of options and actually combining things to come up with your own solutions. But you can't do that if there's only like a few things to choose from.
Yeah, for sure. It just seems like you said, so much work to give this much freedom to players. Do you think there's the audience out there that appreciate it? It seems like the most traction Prey has for a wider audience is people saying, oh, it's kind of like BioShock in space, which I know is silly with System Shock and everything, but that seems to be like some sort of handhold for the wider community. So, Bertz, you've played a lot of this game. Do you think like if a wider fan base goes into this game expecting another BioShock-like experience, they'll enjoy it?
Maybe. I don't know if it has the mainstream kind of like, the one failing that this, I wouldn't say failing, but the one criticism I would levy at the game systems that really isn't grabbing me is the combat.
Yeah.
And, like Ken Levine, when he talks about this kind of game design, he's like, you always got to give that action player like skip the audio logs if you just want to get into the game combat. I don't know that this game can stand on that.
Why is that? Where does it fall down there?
I think it's difficult. Like you don't have a lot of ammo, which is the fallback for a lot of traditional gamers who play these kinds of games that maybe they didn't play System Shock, but they got into BioShock.
Yeah.
The combat for me, like running out of ammo all the time, having no melee when a mimic gets really close to you without having to switch to the wrench. Some of those things I think make it a little bit tougher sell.
Yeah.
But, for a person like me who, I love these games, like Dishonored, I think, crossed that boundary a little bit better, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, why is that?
Yeah, well, you were an unstoppable killing force in that game. You could do amazingly crazy stuff.
Makes for better trailers,
right.
too.
Yeah.
And it's like, we have to take into account, because I was thinking that same thing with Dishonored too, but we are talking about very different fantasies. Like Dishonored, you are ostensibly an unstoppable killing machine, and your main choice is like, do I stay my hand or do I just murder everyone?
Yeah.
Whereas in Prey, you are a scientist, a brilliant scientist who can mod their body, but you're not the toughest, baddest, killer.
Yeah,
you don't start that way.
It's a thinking player's game, and I think that's why Bethesda struggled with the marketing for this, and that's why they released that demo. I really believe that they weren't sure how to sell this to a wider audience.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, like, and I'm understanding of that. I'm understanding of like, okay, this is different fantasy, but it's also a game that feels like it comes from a lineage of play your own way, and for it to not out of the gate give you, the means to fight, the monsters that you run into, it seems like a failing to me in a way. It does. It's because, someone like from BioShock, if you play BioShock, you can, and Dishonored, you can go right out of the gate. Just if you're clever and resourceful, you can just kill your way through waves of enemies. But, I get that it's a different kind of fantasy. And I do wish
like
the
that
combat.
It is different. I do like
that.
Yeah,
I like it too, but I also wish, even that though it is different, I wish the combat was still more interesting than it is, because it never stopped feeling like throughout the entire game, even when I got access to like better abilities and stuff, that I wasn't just chipping off blocks off of a red health bar. And like that's a bummer to me. That kind of sucks.
I think some of it is a challenge, is like a genre challenge, and I think you kind of see this when you go from System Shock 2 to BioShock, or when you go from Resident Evil 1 through 3 to Resident Evil 4. I think that System Shock 2 and Prey are both very much trying to be survival horror games, which is about like, okay, you're scared of enemies. They can kill you if you're not careful. You don't have as much ammo as you would want. You aren't just like Master Chief, and can just run circles around your enemies and use all these weapons to waste them because they want the tension of you feeling like you do have to say, am I going to use my ammo on this enemy, or am I going to try to, think of a different way around it. And I think that's similar, when you look at, I don't know, Silent Hill or the early Resident Evil games or whatever. It's like, okay, the combat isn't good because it's actually sort of more of like a last resort in a way. And that's definitely not the case in Prey. But I think that when you look at the difference between like System Shock 2 and Bioshock definitely has like spooky, like there's tension to it. It's like, it's not like a walk in the park game. Like it has some scares, and it's like, a very kind of like keeps you off balance kind of game. But I don't think it feels like survival horror the way that System Shock 2 does. I think a part of that is because they were like, we need to cater to people who just want to like load up with ammo and go to town on enemies, and have that be their play style. And at some point when you make that a valid play style, especially early, I think a lot of people, that'll just be the game for almost everyone because it's the path of least resistance. So I think it's a really hard design problem of like, how do we not just make it awesome to waste on enemies right off the bat, so that that's just not the only thing that people ever do, but how do we also make this fun because it's about combat with enemies, and we don't want to have combat that just sucks, because if you just have combat that people are like, this is bad, okay, well that doesn't do you any good either.
Right.
So I think finding that balance is a serious challenge.
I think actually and I agree, and I was thinking about this game a good bit when I was reviewing Prey, I think Resident Evil 7 actually found that combat balance, because like the combat in that game doesn't feel like the block chipping thing. Like you do have limited ammo and this and that, but it's super satisfying too. Like when you squeeze off a headshot, especially given the main character's tendency like for his arms to shake when he's aiming. Yeah. Right. And I'd wish that Prey's combat was a little bit more like that, instead of like, oh, well, I'm just going to hit this guy with a wrench and watch the health bar go down a bit.
So I will say this about that as well, is that in Resident Evil 7, I think the least satisfying parts of the combat were when you were just grinding through oil creatures, right? Like the good combat in Resident Evil 7 was when you were just trying to get one of the like overpowered kind of controller enemies to just lay down for a minute so you can get away from them, or a big boss fight.
Right.
And I do think that Prey's enemy design also, like not so much how they look, but like how they act in a lot of cases. Like I think that there are some behaviors that the floor crawler mimics could do that would be more conducive to like how you first encounter them. Because like when I encounter them anyway, they generally tend to like run up and just start like hitting you in the ankles, which leads to a lot of just like stare at the floor and try to delete their hit points, which is not how like, for instance, head crabs in Half-Life are, where they tend to like keep their distance and kind of dance around back there and then like jump right towards you so you can hit them out of the air, which makes them a pretty satisfying enemy behavior, which is very different for like an enemy that's a very similar shape. So I think there's probably some stuff that could be tuned just in the like, what are the enemies like and how do they behave when I encounter them with these tools, along with just like what the player can do and how the combat is balanced and stuff.
Yeah, it feels like all of the tools that I was given, like the most satisfying things, even when it was in relationship to enemies, it was always like about stealth and not actually engaging them, like figuring out which objects are mimics. Like there was something super satisfying about, well, that cup just sort of moved. That is definitely a damn crab. And then going over there and hitting it and then seeing that, you killed it in one hit because you were clever enough to see that it was there. Like that stuff's satisfying, but to me, that's not even necessarily combat. Like, that's more of just exploration and, being prepped.
Well, yeah, and I think there's something that, with Bioshock 1 especially, I think there were a lot of people who were like, well, the combat in this game isn't great. It's a great game, but like, it's not like you play this to play an awesome FPS. I think there's sort of a tell there, which is that a lot of your plasmids in Bioshock either are about immobilizing an enemy or like doing damage to them without actually having to like play an FPS against them. So there's a lot of either like zap them and whack them, or set them on fire and then run away. Yeah. Which is sort of like, okay, so our design is about killing these enemies without actually having to do combat towards them. And I feel like Prey has a similar kind of thing where it's like, the first thing they give you is the glue gun, which is just like, this is to freeze enemies in place so you can just kill them without having to actually fight them. So I think there's a similar kind of tension going on there in the design space.
Yeah, for sure. So Jeff Cork is also playing this game, and he's telling me the story about fighting, beyond just the mimics. There's also larger versions of the Typhoon aliens. The Nightmare, is that the big one?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The Nightmare will murder you.
That's what he said. He said like there was an area where it's like, hey, you can fight it or just try and survive for 3 minutes, and he just golden-eyed it and just hid in a toilet and just waited for this thing to like slowly walk by the bathroom. Like, do you want to talk about some crazy experiences? What like fun moments stand out to you as like peak systems all converging in this game?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
Sorry.
No, you go ahead while I think.
The one that jumps out to me right off the top of my head is I had this awesome, like, I'm sold moment in the demo, which was you get into this area that's like a multi-level area. So you're up on a balcony, and it's the first time you encounter one of the, I think it's called it's called something like a technophasm or something. Whatever. It's one of the floating enemies that will like grab turrets and then have the turrets shoot at you by carrying them around.
Yeah.
And so I came up towards it and I saw it and I was like, oh god, it's like floating around. And so it was floating above the balcony, so above the second floor, and it killed me a couple of times. And I was like, okay, I'm going to be smart. And I threw an EMP at it, so it disabled the turrets that would have been shooting me. And then I just took out the glue gun and just like, while it was stunned, tried to just immobilize it with the glue gun because I'm like, then I'll shoot it. But what actually happened was I shot it with the glue gun enough that it got frozen, which just caused it to fall 2 floors down to the ground and die from taking fall damage and shatter. I was like, this is beautiful. Games are a miracle.
Yeah.
So that was rad and really surprising. But like, those are the moments of that kind of emergent gameplay where it's like, you didn't see it coming. It was super surprising. And then afterwards, you're like, oh, I know exactly why that happened. Awesome.
Yeah. There's a level later on that you have to clear out that has a bunch of enemies in it. And I used a tactic that Bert's actually put into my head, because you get the ability, in the game, you get the ability to basically manufacture any item that's in the game that you can use. So ammo, even like the neuromods, which are your level currency. Later on, you get the ability to manufacture as many of those as you want, as long as you have the resources.
What? Okay.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of.
Yeah. So one of the
I
things
did that for 3 hours yesterday.
Jesus Christ.
So one of the things that I did was I just manufactured a bunch of turrets and I set them up in a room, and I had to hack all of them because one of the interesting things one of the things I like about neuromods is that there's some emergent storytelling that happens with your upgrades, because there are narrative consequences for using the neuromods.
Sure.
Morgan is, well, in my case, as she used more, she becomes less human, so the turrets will fire on you because they sense that you're not human.
Got it.
But you can hack them. You can like sneak up behind them and hack them and make them not do that. But anyway, so I got like 4 of them, and I stuck them in a room that was like T-bone shaped. And then there was this hallway filled with like phantoms and stuff, which are like the mid-level soldier sort of Typhon they have to take out, and they have like fire abilities and telekinesis. And so I would just run into the cargo hold where they were, and then run back into them, like lead 3 or 4 of them to their deaths.
It's just orcs must die at that point.
Yeah, it was really fun. Like, it was just because it does sound kind of, saying it like that sounds kind of boring, and an orcs must die away. But it was really interesting to see them like come in there, and they would actually put up a fight too. Like, they took out 2 of those turrets, and I would have to go and make more. But it was just fun to like do that and not really use up any of my own ammo.
Yeah. By the way,
Just lay an ambush. Yeah.
Dantec, just you seem confused. We've covered this on the podcast before. JV says turrets. No one can quite figure out why he says turrets, but
I didn't want to say anything. I'm just like,
right. No one wants to be rude, but JV, that's
the
a weird
first
way
time
to
you
say
said it, I
turrets.
was just like,
Sorry.
And then the second time, I just couldn't help myself. I was like, what? Wait, what?
I've known people in the past who have pronounced turrets. You're not the only person, JV, in the world who says turrets.
I'm the brotherhood of people who say weird shit.
Probably the only professional writer.
There was somebody else that I knew who pronounced vehicles.
So, was it a 3-year-old, Steve?
I want to meet this person. I want to be their best friend.
No, you guys, it would be like a matter-antimatter thing. You guys would explode.
Your tongues would explode. So
Everyone listening to you would explode.
I'm still trying to figure out, is this just the game exactly that System Shock fans have wanted for a long time? Like, what doesn't it nail?
A lot of it, and
I would say that it is, personally.
Yeah?
Like, as someone who played, System Shock 2, whatever, in my freshman year of college or something, and what I feel like, I haven't finished Prey. Maybe it turns super bad. But like it feels to me like it has the level of polish and accessibility and presentation of BioShock while retaining the like systems complexity of System Shock 2, which is amazing. And yeah, I really do like Fabi was saying, all the characterization, all of the like actual, you know, characters that you meet, who you speak to, who have different, you know, perspectives and stuff. So like the crew feels more vibrant and present in a way than a lot of, than even in System Shock 2, where they were all dead. And, you know, you got audio diaries and you got to know them. But something really interesting about Prey is every single crew member on the station, every corpse that you find has a unique name. And then when you encounter some of them who are alive, you're like, oh, you made it. You know, like you don't encounter a living character for a long time. Sorry, spoilers. But then when you do, you're like, oh, it's not just all going to be dead bodies with names. There's still like people here. And I get to like build more of an identity of who this group was and what's happened to them in a way that I think really adds a lot to the experience.
Go ahead, Jerry.
I mean, I tend to agree that it's more of a spiritual successor to System Shock 2 than even BioShock was. But I feel like a lot of the things that BioShock streamlined, like not really having an inventory, weren't necessarily a bad thing. And returning to what is essentially System Shock 2, there are some annoyances there as far as inventory management goes, and it's really hard for me to get past how rough those first couple of hours are. Like eventually I did, but man, it's rough. It's really, really rough. But once that game hits its stride and when it's firing on all cylinders, it's really good.
Like rough to the point. I know Suriel is playing on easy. Would you recommend people start on easy then, just to get past that
Yeah, if
section?
you've never played like System Shock 2 or something, I would recommend playing on easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, I don't
will
think there's
say
any
on the flip
shame
side-
in it. Oh, sorry,
Oh, yeah.
Steve.
No, I will say on the flip side, I've only played it on hard, and I think that hard mode in Prey is a better experience than like hard mode in BioShock, for instance.
Mm-hmm.
I think that because like in BioShock, more of the time, more of the experience of playing on hard was basically just that enemies became more of just like bullet sponges. And Prey, I haven't really felt that way. I felt like, okay, this is challenging. I'm glad that I have to be careful and like manage my resources, because I feel like if this game was easier for me, I wouldn't get as much satisfaction out of how many systems they give you to deal with this stuff. But I've made games like this. I'm very experienced with the context. So I acknowledge that this is unique probably to people who have like a lot of background with playing these kinds of things and replaying them and knowing them in and out.
Right, and you can also like toggle it anytime, so it might be more of an experimenting thing. It's not like, oh, well, I selected this at the beginning, so I'm locked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's probably not a fun game if you put it on hard or even normal and you just keep seeing game over screens. Like, no reason to put yourself through that if you're not actually enjoying it.
Right.
Yeah. Well, hey, speaking of working on similar games, Steve, are there any moments in this game that make you think of Tacoma or make you rethink Tacoma or appreciate because of your work on Tacoma?
I mean, if there's anything that makes me rethink Tacoma, it's a little late. We're going to ship soon, so sorry. I will. So a few things that are really interesting about playing this game right now are it's interesting seeing a game that comes from some similar foundations and reference points, but that is much more faithful to like adhering to them and kind of modernizing them. So it is cool and interesting to say like, oh, okay, you can make this kind of thing now and make it good and make it like have all the stuff in it. Because, you know, from our perspective on Tacoma, you know, we definitely have inspirations from System Shock 2, which is, you know, abandoned space station, personal access to who the crew members were, and we're kind of, at least one semi-reference point is like the ghost scenes that you see in System Shock 2 or BioShock, but like making it a core mechanic of like, you know, move through the scenes and kind of engage with them more. But we're like focusing very much on those aspects of the experience and then trying to build them out from there. But something that's really, really interesting, super interesting, and this is a little bit of spoilers, but it's early spoilers and it's not like plot twist spoilers, it's just a thing that happens. There's the part relatively early on when you get into Dr. Calvino's office and you turn on the looking glass display that's in the center of the room, and it's the 3 monitors that are kind of in a column, and you turn it on and you're moving around the column, and through each of the screens you can see the room that you're in, at an earlier time when people were in it doing things that have left it in the state that it's in, and you can like see through one screen that Dr. Calvino is like looking over your shoulder to see what's he seeing, and you go look in the other direction. It's his lab assistant like leaving, and he's looking to see if she's left yet so he can do something secret. And that's like very, very kind of the core experience of being inside an AR scene in Tacoma, of kind of being able to say like, oh, I'm here now, but I'm also kind of here then, and I can see it from angles that other people couldn't see, and I'm putting all those pieces together. And I really like that sequence in Prey. So if anything, that made me feel like, oh, okay, good, this is fun. Great.
Arcane proved it for us.
That's what our whole game is about, so I'm glad I like that, because there's a whole bunch of everything we're making.
Yeah.
But it was really interesting to see that as kind of like a parallel, and to get to have like a glimpse of that experience in that scene.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else anybody wants to get off their chest about Prey?
The music's awesome.
Yeah, the music's
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Gordon, the
fantastic.
same
I
guy
love
who
the
did
soundtrack.
Doom and I think Wolfenstein as well, right?
Oh,
Yep.
really?
Mick
He's just
Gordon.
the go-to Bethesda guy?
Yeah.
He's a Michael Giacchino
Yeah.
for Bethesda now?
Yeah, full time. I mean, he's a full time employee of, I guess, Bethesda or id or whatever. The thing that's really interesting is when you go outside, like all the like guitar music is just so like low key and good, and then it's like, oh, by the way, this is the guy who made the music for Doom,
I
which
know.
is
I know.
bananas, and it's amazing.
Yeah,
Like, he's
Wolfenstein had a lot of
fantastic
that too,
Mhm.
like sort of
Yeah.
low-key guitar music that's really good.
Yeah, for sure. So, JB, we haven't said it yet. You gave it a what?
8.25.
There we go. Recommend it to that hardcore crowd and maybe beyond.
Yeah, I recommend it to the hardcore crowd with pretty much no caveats. For people who like blasting their way through games and, you know, are hoping to do this, you know, treat it like a Call of Duty experience. That's not going to happen. At least not until much later in the game. So just be aware of that. Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
The only last thing that I want to throw in is since I've been streaming it, I have friends that work at Arcane. The lead level designer of Prey was a level designer on BioShock 2 with me, and he was a level designer on the first Dishonored game. And some other people at the studio, I know. And so he has been in chat a little bit on my streams and kind of giving me some, you know, like kind of insider, like dev lore, you know, like, oh, this was this person's level or whatever. And something that I find really cool for people who are interested in like the lineage and maybe are like longtime Deus Ex or System Shock fans, or just kind of are digging back into what those games are all about. Something that's really cool to me anyway, as a developer, is that many of the level designers on Prey were level designers on like the original Thief games and the original Deus Ex, and have been working, you know, at Looking Glass and Ion Storm and other studios that were making the foundational games in this genre, and are still, you know, making what we're playing now and bringing forward that direct experience through all of those games. Like, as someone who is simply inspired by System Shock 2 and Deus Ex and Thief, and is trying to kind of, you know, maintain that design outlook on things, it's cool to know that there are people who are like, oh yeah, I made, you know, whatever, the Illuminati base in Deus Ex, and I also made, you know, whatever, Cargo Bay in Prey, and it just got released this year, and they know their stuff, and I feel like there's something really cool about that being part of why I think the game is so good.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a bizarre thing that I got such a big budget in 2017. And, you know, it's going to be one of those games where 5 years from now, when people are complaining about how many sequels there are and Destiny 8's coming out or whatever, people are going to be like, why don't they make games like that reboot of Prey? Like, that was back when the industry was alive and we took risks, damn it. Like, this is it. This is the risk.
Yeah, it definitely feels, you know, sort of, when I finished it, I was like, well, that's Far Cry 2 as hell. Like, in the a lot of this is rough, but when, you know, it's really going, it's really good, and it gives you so much to play with, and I love it.
So you're saying at the end of the year we can have a whole category in the magazine?
Yeah,
that's
what
just,
game is most like Far Cry 2?
Yeah, top 5 Far Cry 2s, and it's just Breath of the Wild and Prey. Got it. Well, hey, Steve, thank you so much for joining us, man. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. I really appreciate you guys having me on. It's great to chat with you.
Yeah.
And have a good rest of your podcast.
Oh,
Right.
we hope we will. We hope to see Tacoma at E3.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that far off. We're still finalizing
Yeah,
plans.
don't think
We
about
hope
it.
to see you guys there.
Don't worry about
Okay.
it. Just don't think
Sounds
about
good,
it.
Steve. Take care, man. Good to talk to you.
All right.
Later,
See you
Steve.
guys. Have a
Bye.
good one.
See ya.
All right, Dan Tech. Finally, time to speak up, sir.
Is it?
Yeah, let's get it done. Let's talk about Strafe.
Okay, is that we're doing Strafe now?
We're doing Strafe right now.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Okay, cool.
What's Strafe like? It's another throwback.
Strafe is
FPS.
definitely attempting to capture the nostalgia of the 90s era shooters, Doom, Quake, Wolfenstein, trying to take all of that and turn it into a hardcore roguelike version of that kind of game.
The Antec included the word trying.
Yes, it fails. Yeah. It fails horribly.
Really? Jesus.
I would say so, yes.
I agree. I played about 6 hours of it. I really don't like it.
I played a couple rounds of it. What don't you guys like?
It's not so bad after a couple rounds. It's bad after 10, 20, 30, 40 rounds.
It certainly nails the tone. I think like the tutorial video is very well done, very funny.
Check this out.
Yeah.
The tutorial is the best part of that whole game.
Oh, okay.
Outside of like, again, if you're looking for nostalgia nods, you get plenty of them. There's lots of like little mini secret areas and like, oh, wow, I can't believe I found this weapon from this old school game in this game. Whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Or, oh, that's just like Wolfenstein. Or, oh, cool, throwback to 90s.
Isn't that what people want with Kickstarter? Is just feel young again and call it a day?
You will get that.
Okay.
You will get that out of the experience. However, the roguelike structure and the rest of the game honestly does no favors.
Yeah, procedural generation is not synonymous with game design. They are you still have to design a goddamn game in there. And this game, like the variables for each time the level generates, it's ridiculous.
What do you mean?
I mean, it's feast or famine, man. Like either you've got like, hey, there's health packs this time, and I got the weapon upgrade I needed, and I found a ton of loot, and I'm going smooth to the next level. Cool. And then the next time you go through the same level, it could be like, oh, I fell in that elevator thing, and it crushed me. Oh. Or, I couldn't hear the guys coming up behind me, so they just killed me while I was trying to run around in circles in this other guy. There's many different factors in each level, like either you did it right and you gathered all the enemies up and blew them all away, or you didn't. And it's based on the map. Like, is there cool like health packs in here, or is there not? Do I have enough money to upgrade my gun? If I did upgrade my gun, is my upgrade actually a downgrade? And do I need to revert it back because I hate the way this weapon fires now and it's going to get me killed?
Some people might think, oh, it's tough.
It is tough.
It's tough,
but it's beyond it just being a hard game.
Okay, so listen, I love tough games.
Okay,
all right.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a masochist when it comes to games. Okay,
and in real life, yeah,
and in real life. So when it comes to stuff like that, it's not like, oh, the difference here in this game, I think, is how the challenge is for you. Other games where you get beat down, you pick yourself up, you learn something, and you go kick its ass. In this game, it's just like, man, I have no desire to keep playing this because it's just stupid and unfair, and I'm not feeling any sense of accomplishment when I do win because I feel like I won a dice roll, and when I lose, it's just even worse. It's like, gosh, what could I do better? I don't know. I didn't find the right upgrade I needed. That's dumb.
And the nostalgia's already been done. I mean, like, Wolfenstein and Doom were doing the same things this game was doing within their own most recent games. So like even that part doesn't feel really fresh and new.
There's something about the visuals. It's fun to see that.
It's not fresh and new, but it definitely captures that. That is the one thing it does right. Is it captures the self-referential nostalgia nods. Good for it. You get a small prize for that. But that's it, man. I wish I could say better things about the game, but it is not fun, and I would not recommend it.
So what if, in a hypothetical, what if it was just a structured level by level? Is that what you're looking for? You just remove the randomization completely?
You could do it. There's a way to make this game a cool roguelike, I think. I would probably be to have more roguelite experiences so that you make some consistent progression even when you do die unfairly. That's the only way to say it, is unfairly, because it's just stupid. Like, there's no rhyme or reason about it. It's like, oh, well, this time that happened. There's nothing I could have done differently. It just didn't work out. Yeah. So yeah, you roll again, and eventually you get farther and farther, and the game gets harder and more unfair as you progress, which is the funny part of it. I have beaten it, but I can only imagine if the ramp up, from what I've seen, I can only imagine that the enemies ramp up even more ridiculously later on.
And so this game had you screaming, pulling out your hair.
No. See, that's the thing. I wasn't feeling that. I wasn't feeling like the pressure of like a Neo or a Souls or a Darkest Dungeon. It's just like this emptiness. It's just like I don't care if I get farther because I'm not enjoying this at all.
Yeah, that's like the clear sign that, because I also like roguelikes. And when, they whenever the roguelike structure results in that, that's a failure on the game. Because I played another one recently called Tumbleseed that does the same thing and results in that same sort of not learning anything. This is not enjoyable. I hate this. I just want to go play something else. Whereas like successful games like Binding of Isaac, successful examples of that genre are like, okay, I learned that pattern of that enemy. I know how to like outsmart them. Oh, what are these crazy new items I'm going to get this playthrough? Because Binding of Isaac has like 1,000 items. So yeah,
It's so tough because like developers are looking at it like, something like Spelunky, we can have like this infinitely playable throwback experience.
Sure.
This is perfect. Let's go for it. And then in the end, it's you should have just gone
theory,
a little more.
I guess. But no, and even though there are a bunch of different weapons and all this other stuff, it just doesn't feel right. The shooting is dismal. It's not very impactful. Like there's headshots and there's limbs splattering everywhere. There's gore everywhere. There's explosions everywhere. But none of it really has any. It doesn't feel right.
That's
there's
such
no
a bummer.
punch.
Yeah, there's no punch behind any of it.
Because I've previewed that game twice for us, and it was the tutorial section each time, and that was really cool. But it just sounds like after that opening, it's just a bummer.
The tutorial was super cool.
Yeah.
Very 90s. I loved the tutorial. That was the best part of my game experience with that game.
Yeah, it looks like Steam reviewers are not a fan of it either. It's mixed right now. A lot of people are complaining about just like the enemies will just swarm you.
They will.
Like it's one thing to have dumb AI.
This is, again, early on. I think in the first areas, yes. The first, I noticed has been said, certainly in the first areas, the best strategy is actually not to strafe. It's to aggro everything and then run them down a corridor while you just shoot down the corridor.
And just go backwards while shooting.
Right. And then the enemies do get a little bit more varied later on, but that is not a saving grace, and you won't want to put in the time to get there. Trust me.
Woof. What'd you give this one?
A 6.
A 6.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe if you're super into that,
I would say if you're in the market just for the 90s references, man, you have to be really into it for that. That's the only reason.
It feels like there's a whole sort of a genre for that now, especially when it comes to indie games. Like, did any of you guys play, what was it, Evoland?
Yes.
Evoland? I feel like that fits in there where it's like, do you know what that has been?
No.
Like, you start out, and what is it, like 8-bit?
You start playing through all of the eras of old school RPGs, essentially, and the game changes to morph with that.
Like visuals, sound, everything, but it's not really fun to play. I did not find it fun to play. But
it's a cool concept.
Yeah, it's a cool concept to like watch unfold before you.
Sure.
And to me, that's kind of what Strafe sounds like. It's like, this is cool to look at, but I don't really want to play it, at least past the tutorial.
Right.
Which I dug.
And I'm sure there's going to be a crowd that's like, it's just too hard for you. That is not the case here. It is not an enjoyable experience. So
there we go.
Yeah.
Hey, Bertz.
Yeah.
NBA Playgrounds. I started it last night. I'm a huge fan of NBA Street.
Mm-hmm.
Jumped into this game. Is it gonna scratch that itch for people?
Maybe. It's kind of a hybrid. It's not as complex as Street. It's a little more complex than NBA Jam, which is the other game that just looking at it looks like NBA Jam.
Right.
But it's pretty shallow, I'll be honest. Like, there's not a lot of depth there. There's like 7 or 8 tournaments that are 4 games each that you can play single player. It's mainly couch, like sit down with your buddy.
It really wants
pick some old school dudes like Hakeem Olajuwon or Clyde the Glide Drexler or whatever. And
it really wants you to unlock new characters. That's like the big hook.
Yeah.
It's constantly dribbling out new NBA players like cards.
And they decided to copy like the Overwatch loot box formula, which is so annoying. You open your card pack and it's like 60% the same cards you already have.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I need new people.
Instead of like beautiful art and just wonderful Overwatch designs, you open it up and it's just these hideous monstrosity, create a character looking NBA players.
I want to see this.
This art, man, it really rubbed me the wrong way. It's like a gross, exaggerated
the way they
claymation
stand,
style.
it's really weird and like alien-like.
Yeah.
They look better in action when you're actually on the court. They have the big head mode kind of look to them.
As a default. I don't even want to know what this game's big head mode will actually look like.
I don't know if
take
there
up
is
the
one.
entire
Yeah, they
camera.
just said auto. Let's just put it on autopilot.
Yeah.
Have big head mode all the time.
Are you enjoying it for what it is? Just a simple little downloadable thing?
Yeah, it's fine. I think there's a spot in the market for that. Like the simulation sports games are pretty hardcore these days. They're not easy for people to pick up and play. You got to learn a lot of nuances to play NBA 2K.
Yeah. They still have like the street mode in NBA 2K to try and somewhat cater to that audience.
Yeah, it's still, learning how to string together, dribbling moves and stuff like that is hard in that game. Though.
Yeah.
So I think there is a spot in the market for a game like this, and it's only $20. So if you like hoops, you want to sit around with your buddies and, trade off games, like it's a decent experience.
Also, I don't know if that NBA Jam reboot came to Steam, and this game is on Steam, so maybe for like the PC crowd in particular, it kind of fills a void. Can you explain the NBA license to me? I'm very confused because I thought that just EA could make NBA branded games.
No,
I'm sorry, 2K. I'm sorry.
No, EA's been trying to make an NBA game for
That's
they've canceled it a couple times. They delayed it last year. NBA's way more open-minded than the NFL is, where they're like, no, we have one partner.
Okay, so this is Mad Dog Games publishing this game from Saber Interactive. They've done a lot of Halo stuff. They made Inversion, RIPD, the game. We all clearly remember that gem. It seems solid if simple
Yeah.
as far as the overall game goes.
Yeah, there's some gameplay things that just bug me. I can't figure out the shot timing.
Yeah.
You know, like I'll be late on a layup that I'm uncontested. I'm at the hoop with an NBA Hall of Famer. I'm like, how is this not going in? You know, there's a little bit of that. But overall, I mean, it's an arcade game, you know?
Yeah, for sure. So NBA's been loose with the license, much like Warhammer lately, right, Dan?
Dude, there's a Warhammer game
3.
for everything, man.
There really is.
There really, truly
No one's
is.
looser than Warhammer.
Yeah.
Get the old town
boy.
bicycle. Hey, Dan Tech.
Wow.
Dawn of War 3, Warhammer 40K.
Yes,
Uh,
classic franchise.
yes, the RTS. I mean, when was 2?
What,
2
10 years ago?
Yeah.
10, more than 10? It seems like 10. I don't know. It's off the top of my head.
Cult favorite? Is that what you'd call Dawn of War 2?
Sure.
Cult
It's
classic?
an enjoyable game.
Okay, where does Dawn of War 3 fit in?
Well, let's see here. As far as the single-player experience goes, the campaign is not good. Campaign is very boring, but it does function as a functional tutorial to get new players into RTS if they haven't played RTS.
Okay.
It is, however, it doesn't have any, like, okay, it has very little of, like, the, you know, when you're going through an RTS campaign, you're looking for, like, the call-out maps where they do weird things and try different things instead of just get resources, kill bad guy. It's a lot of get resources, kill bad guy.
Alright.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just it begins to grate. There's quite a few missions, but they do, again, if they will walk you, sort of like tiptoe you into the water so you're ready when you hit multiplayer. Multiplayer is a good deal better, but certainly not the pure RTS experience I'm sure a lot of fans of the franchise were looking for. Some have said that it incorporates MOBA elements. Well, I don't want to say it incorporates MOBA elements. It does have
Confusing.
bases. It does have
Okay.
bases, and it has lanes. There are no creeps in the lanes or anything like that. And because it uses sort of like hero units, other players have accused it of being a MOBA as well. But like the hero units, you know, Warcraft 3 was doing that. Nobody calls Warcraft 3 a MOBA. However, the elite units are major battlefield presences. Like, you can kill entire armies with one of these guys. It's still about resource point control like the old games. But at the same time, it is more structured. It's a more structured RTS experience where you know where the enemy's base is, you know what you have to take over. And a lot of it comes down to big elites fighting big elites.
And you like that?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was not, again, I think purists of both RTSs in general and fans of the franchise might take some umbrage with the decisions made for the multiplayer. But we'll see how it all shakes out in the end.
Yeah, I played like 2 hours of it
Oh, wow.
at GDC. And the entire time I was like, this is fine. But I just honestly, I don't know why I would play like this over StarCraft 2. You know, like that was my takeaway. So,
Especially with StarCraft Remastered coming out so
yeah,
soon.
like,
Does it...
Man, that genre's dwindled, hasn't it?
Well, it's just so confusing. This is what I want to know. Like, what is this game?
They do nail, like, it feels really fun and powerful to wield one of the giant elite units, just blow away an entire army with like chain guns and rockets.
More so
They're
than
really
Warcraft
cool.
3, like heroes.
Sure. Oh yeah, they definitely more of a battlefield impact than those. But I'm just
Okay.
saying, we had heroes in RTS games before MOBAs came along.
Yeah.
And every hero had, you know, QD, you know, that would happen before MOBAs. So don't be like hero units are a MOBA thing,
Right.
because we did have them before that. There are lots of cool, again, there's cool aspects to it. You just have to be willing, I guess, to accept a different kind of RTS experience, especially different than the ones you may have had in previous games in the series.
It's
It's
so
sort of
bizarre,
like,
though.
we'll take a piece of one, we'll take a piece of two, and then we'll add these other new concepts.
Yeah, it's so bizarre to like for Relic to plant their flag and like maybe the future of the RTS genre is splitting the difference with MOBAs. Is this what people
No,
want?
I'm actually sort of, you know, there has to be a compromise sometime, because we all know, despite the acolytes that RTS has, the genre is nowhere. It's not good right. It's not in a good spot right now.
right.
And somebody's going to need to make a decision and say, this is the new RTS, and
It's
bring
not-
it back.
besides, genres evolve all the time. Like first-person
do.
shooters evolved by, you know, taking in RPG elements. You know, there's a reason.
Yeah, but it didn't create the RPG genre to begin with.
That's
where
true.
it becomes
That's
bizarre,
true.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I think fans of the franchise may or may not like it, depending on the factors I already discussed. If you can get your head around like the fact that, you know, it's still going to have these awesome elite units that you're going to love playing with. The multiplayer is very different. Campaign, you know, who cares about the campaign? It's an RTS.
Aw.
Come on, how dare you?
I have never
you
just-
do not like Wings
campaign
of
was
Liberty's
really
campaign?
good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like the branching stuff in there is really
It's
neat.
fantastic.
It was all right.
Best part of the StarCraft 2 trilogy.
It was all right. Okay, sure, I'll give you that.
Hang on a second.
I'll give you
You're
that.
saying Wings of Liberty's campaign's all right?
Yeah, it's all right.
What's a better RTS campaign?
Brood War.
No.
Yep.
You're out of your effing mind.
Okay, then I'm out of my mind.
Dan, I would love to do a game club with you sometime. Just all of Wings of Liberty.
Oh gosh,
I'd be
no.
up for
I'd
that.
rather not.
I want to do that.
Just Wings of Liberty.
All right,
Yeah.
just Wings of Liberty.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not bad.
there's a lot to tackle.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like they started putting like, you know, WoW raid bosses in there. That's so exciting.
That would be
Really
hard
new
to-
and original stuff.
What is? I've never heard a single person say a negative thing.
Dodge the little squares in the ground while you fight the boss.
Yeah, but
really
every level's different.
Yeah, all right.
This is startling, Dan. This is like saying you don't like chocolate.
No, it's not.
Okay. Anyways, you gave Denoware 3 7.75?
7.75. Yep.
There we go. Sweet. JV, there's a new Fire Emblem coming out soon on 3DS.
Woo.
No, come on. I really try and keep up with this stuff, even though I'm not a huge fan of the franchise. But what is this? Is it entirely new? Because Fire Emblem, I want to call it If. I think that was the Japanese name. What was the last one?
Fates. Yeah.
Confusing as hell. We talked about it a lot on the show. Where does this new one
This
fall
is a
in
single
line?
game. All right. This is a remaster of a Fire Emblem that never made it over. I think it was Fire Emblem 2. It's called Fire Emblem Gaiden. It's considered to be like the sort of black sheep. Like the best way to think about it is probably like The Legend of Zelda 2. It's that sort of thing because there are RPG elements in it.
So it's awesome. Is that what you're trying to say?
Anyway,
No
so
comment.
What is this one actually called then?
This one is called Fire Emblem Echoes Shadows of Valentia, I think is the name of the continent. It's a mouthful.
Okay.
But it's very different because, for the last 2 Fire Emblems, or 4, if you want to talk about how Fates was actually 2 games with a DLC that was its own game, you selected your protagonist, you chose their gender and stuff, very blank slate protagonist, kind of Commander Shepard situation. But for this one, it's actually 2 protagonists that you're split between. It's multiple perspectives. Alm, who's this sort of warrior Link kind of guy, and then a priestess who reminds me a lot of like Yuna from Final Fantasy X. So, you sort of jump back and forth between them, and you have a huge overmap. And there's dungeon crawling, which is like the biggest difference between this game. And, well, there's another big difference. We'll get to that in a minute. But you're also doing dungeon crawling. Like, occasionally you'll come across like a cave or a castle, and you'll fight an army outside of that cave or castle. You'll beat them, and then you'll go in there. And sometimes it'll be a dungeon that you actually just run around, and they're not that great so far. They're like, imagine Persona 4 and Persona 5's dungeons, like how you run around, but without any of the cool stuff. So it's just a series of tunnels. It's just a series of tunnels that you run around smacking barrels and enemies.
Okay.
And then
awesome.
The battle system, you might think, oh, well, they're doing a dungeon crawling system, so it might be a new battle system while you're in the dungeons. No, it's the same sort of Fire Emblem battle system from overhead where you're sending, units against each other and so on and so forth. And also, here's the biggest sticking point. For the longest time, since they announced this game like 6 or 7 months ago, I want to say, Nintendo and Intelligent Systems would not say, despite being asked, are they going to be relationship stuff, like the shipping stuff, which were, a big deal in Awakening and Fates. And so far, I can't, say with 100% certainty that there aren't relationships in there, but I got nothing so far. I'm like 10 hours into the game, and there are support units. Like, you can make your units fight on the battlefield and get close to one another, which results in like their stats going up. But as far as romancing and stuff, that hasn't shown up yet.
It's more of a friends with benefits situation.
Yeah. But that being said, some of these units are so horny. Like, some of the dialogue is like just pure thirst. Like, at one point, one guy's talking about, well, she's a handful, and another guy goes, I hope so. And it's
Booyah.
like,
That's just some locker room talk right there.
Wait, that's just like a nice Christian camp where everyone's horny and no one can do anything? Is that your conclusion here? For
so
the new Fire
far,
Emblem?
yeah, it's like Christian summer camp. But the battle's still fun, and the story's kind of interesting if it's still basically Arthurian. Like, there's a great evil, we have to fight it, the one true hero sort of thing. Honestly, I'm not far enough into it. Like, our review's going to be up next week, but I have no idea what to think of this game yet. Like, I'm mostly enjoying it, but like
it's interesting. Maybe Fire Emblem fans are ready for a change of pace, though.
But it still plays like a game that still feels like a game from the mid '90s.
Okay,
so we'll see.
How many Fire Emblems have come out in the last 4 years?
I mean, talking about Fates, Fates mucks that up. Like, do you
and
count
Awakening
Fates as
was
one?
What? That was close to 4 years ago, wasn't it?
Awakening's like early 2013, 2012.
Yeah. And then we have Fire Emblem Warriors coming up, and the
mobile game
Switch project. Yeah.
How many Metroids have we had in the same time?
Yeah.
Federation Force. Let's move on. You guys want to go to some great emails?
Sure.
Here we go. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got some great emails from the community here. People sent in their wonderful feedback, thoughts, questions, concerns to podcast@GameInformer.com. And Dan, we go through all these. We choose our absolute favorite, and what do they win?
It's a different prize every week. Sometimes it's something really cool. I think when he got one of my Blazers once, that was pretty cool.
That is maybe the best/worst prize we've ever given out.
Cool in air quotes.
He posted it all over Twitter. I think he enjoyed it.
Oh, God. It will not be Stinky Dan clothing this time. I promise it'll be something great. But yeah, any email that you think will make the show better, send it into podcast@gameformer.com. Kick things off, we have Nevin Gross, who calls himself a curious listener. He says, hello, crew. Has anyone done the math to determine how long it would take to play all 100 RPGs on the top 100 RPG list? Can you put an intern on it? Without any knowledge, my guess is 100 games at 60 hours apiece would be 6,000 hours, or the equivalent of 250 days. Now, this gets murky. This is a great idea.
Because, oh, boy. Yeah. How do you even calculate that?
I think 60 might be too high of an average for these games.
Yeah.
But there's also the EverQuest, World of Warcraft.
Right, which you couldn't beat no matter what.
Right. Ultima Online, did that make the list?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it impossible to know. But it's certainly up there.
You have to put
I think Joe's
literal
plate
years
is clear
for those
right?
games.
What's that?
Joe's plate is clear for this month. We can get him on it.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do the math. And we should have him just replay all of them again.
Just
make it one long super replay with Joe Juba.
I think actually it's a super interesting question. I think we should just take the MMOs out, put them at 200 hours, and then check how long to beat.com or whatever.
And it would just take a lot of Googling.
Figure it out.
You can really do it. We do have a stats page on the last page of Game Informer this month. Just breaking down the 100 RPGs by stats. It doesn't have the time, but it has the company. It seems like Square just knocked it out of the park. Any other stats that stand out to you?
BioWare was repped pretty hardcore, I think.
Yeah.
Much to the chagrin of the internet.
Atlas was on there too.
Yeah, sure. Definitely. Check out that issue, everybody. Argue with us. Anyways, hello, Ben and crew. What are some games that you used to play all the time, but it turns out that no one else has ever heard of it? Or it just isn't a good game in retrospect. I used to play Hyperzone on the Super Nintendo, and I thought that was the coolest game at the time, but turns out no one ever really wanted to play it, and it wasn't a very good game. On an unrelated note, you should request to do a super replay of Dark Souls 2 with TAC. That's from Dalen Briggs. Dan, I got several emails saying that I need to play Dark Souls 2 with you.
Yes,
Where is this coming from?
I've been doing some streaming, and
this is all you talk about?
No, they actually ask about you a lot,
and
they're like, you really need to do a super replay of Dark Souls 2 with Hanson. I'm like, that's a great idea. And then they're like, I didn't tell them to write in. They're just doing that. They take that upon themselves.
That would be if I'm on the sticks, that would be unbeatable,
I think we should try
unwatchable, unplayable.
It would be amazing. I think we should give it a shot.
It would be so rough. So no, that won't happen.
It'd be so interesting. Anyway.
It could be interesting, but a good game, a game that isn't good in retrospect, but something that you were convinced not many people have heard of or no one talks about that you played a lot in your childhood. Blade on what?
I think it was PS1 or maybe PS2. It was really bad.
The movie tie-in?
Yeah, it was like a third-person action-adventure garbage tie-in game, but I was obsessed with it.
That's like in that Xena Hercules realm of crappy PS1 game?
Yep.
So what was it cool? Did you get to suck blood?
Yeah, that was like one of the mechanics. It basically played like bad Blood Rain, and Blood Rain wasn't that great to begin with. Oh, Enter the Matrix is another one.
You played a lot of that?
Like what? A lot of those games?
You played a lot of
yeah, because I would just rent these dopey tie-in games, and in the South at the video store there were only 7 games you could get. So
hey, in that dirty South, what is it with you and vampires? Are you into vampire lore?
Not like Anne Rice deep. I got to read every vampire thing.
But you did read all of the Anne Rice books, yeah?
No, I've never read one.
But
really?
I have. Well, not all of them.
I have.
The first 6 or 7.
And they're good. So I was wondering, all right.
No. I think it's actually because Vampire the Masquerade came out and I got obsessed with it.
What if, JV, here's a hypothetical. You're sitting in a movie theater. You got a cool big tub of popcorn in front of you.
Okay.
You're enjoying some trailers. There's some kind of moody looking trailer, clearly disturbing. Something's going on.
I'm visualizing
Then
it.
a minute through the trailer, someone just sinks their teeth into someone else's neck and you realize, oh, this is a vampire movie. Does your interest go up or down?
Up.
I don't understand that. Dan, where does your interest go?
I don't know, down.
Okay.
I'm so tired of vampires and zombies and post-apocalyptic and all of the common horror tropes. I'm kind of done with right now. I want something different.
What do you want?
Care Bears.
Let's go, more Lovecraftian stuff would be nice, I think.
All right,
visualized.
Don't you think even Lovecraft is a little bit
effed
out at this point?
It's mad overplayed, but I think done right is harder. Vampires have been done right a lot, I think.
Done wrong a lot too.
And done wrong a ton.
But hey, back to Mr. Briggs' question. Thinking about games that I never hear talked about, and it's weird, especially in this job, where it's it's coming up on 7 years for me of talking about games, and there's still games that I loved a lot as a kid that I don't think I've ever really brought up. Number 1, Simpsons Cartoon Studio.
Yep.
on
Guaranteed
Mac.
No one knows played
You
that
can
one.
put together little video clips and just pull in different Simpsons characters. Remember, you can just make like weird short films where Marge like is going to a dance, then she goes, "I sure love disco."
They had one for Spider-Man
So
too.
dumb.
Oh, yeah.
like the animated series from 1996 or 1997
Maybe
for
before
Fox.
that, yeah. I
Yeah,
love that
like it was
show.
that same thing. Yeah,
Those were really fun.
yeah, they're really good.
Also, Simtown. Also played it on my friend's computer in that vein. And then PS1 RPG from Square that I've never heard brought up once in my life, Threads of Fate. Did
Yeah.
anybody else play Threads of Fate?
No idea what
I've
that is.
heard it. So
Okay.
so it's been brought up sometimes.
It is a surprisingly cool little action RPG.
All right.
Dan, you would love it.
Would
we
I?
got to super replay it.
Okay. I'm sold.
What never gets brought up for you guys?
I'm going to go with one that actually made our top 100 RPG list, and that's Might and Magic World of Zine. Not that it's a great game, but nobody ever talks about it, right? I don't think I've ever heard anyone ever talk about it, like just like conversations about classic RPGs.
But you're a fantasy.
Super hardcore. Well, those two games, right? So there's two Might and Magic games together to create that one thing, and at the time it was really cool and revolutionary.
What does that mean? Is it like a Sonic and Knuckles thing?
It's like a
What are
Light
you
World,
talking
Dark World, and you play both games together. They released it on one disc with extra voice effects.
about? Okay.
So like you got both games, and you could go between the worlds as you wished, and you could beat them as a whole. So there was additional content. It was kind of like DLC before DLC. Right?
All right.
It was pretty cool.
Probably Rad Robo Alchematic Drive.
Yeah, we did a replay of that.
Yeah, it's such a strange game because it came out around the same time, within the same sort of span that Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City were, and it's rough, but you're running around Tokyo, and you can like get in a giant robot, and the controls are awkward, but it's so weird and out there and fun.
It's trying to give you so much control over like the different robots' movement and arms, but it is fun just to have that ability to jump into something so huge so early on the PS2.
Mhm.
That game is cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah.
Bert's, take us back in time. What do you got?
My brother and I used to play this really weird sports game called Dusty Diamond's All-Star Softball. That had like it was a softball. Why would you choose softball over baseball? Who knows? It had like vampires and like all these weird characters that you could put on your team, and they had obstacles in the baseball diamond.
It sounds
So, like,
incredible.
Hey, Vampire Softball. There we go,
Ooh,
JV.
this sounds
It's
amazing.
everything you want.
I'm there.
Weird. It's a related question. Christian Gianelli says, what was the worst game you ever rented? My clear winner would be Karnov for the NES. I got bored within the first hour on a Friday night and was stuck with that game all weekend. Something about playing as a video game character that looks like my dad firing fireballs at dinosaurs just did not translate for some reason. So renting, does anything stands out for that?
First
short
off,
period of
Karnov
time?
is not that bad. All
Not-
right,
not
come on.
familiar, not
Like I
familiar.
wouldn't take it back. Bad rental.
I had two that kind of the same genre. Sim Earth on the SNES was
God.
unplayable.
Oh, wait a minute. I always get Sim Earth confused with Sim Life. What was Sim Earth like?
Sim Earth was where you're terraforming,
Okay.
and it all just looked like pixels of blue and yellow and
And trying to
green,
navigate pixels on a
and
crappy
trying to
D-pad?
like create like oxygen to create life.
Oh,
It was a
God.
really obtuse game, and the interface was horrible on a SNES controller.
And I'm sure there were people in the marketing team where it's like, oh, SimCity sold like
Yeah.
gangbusters on Super Nintendo. Let's keep pumping these out. And then everyone's like, what is this disaster?
I think it was probably StarCraft 64 for me.
Oh,
like
God.
that game
64?
it was really not good.
It's the way to play, Dan.
I mean, yeah, just for when I think rental. Like I thought of mine. I don't know
Yeah.
if this was an NES game or an SNES game. I think it was called Solstice or something. You were like a wizard and you had to like
Hang on.
jump on blocks.
We have talked about Solstice before.
Have
It
we?
has an amazing soundtrack.
I'm not sure if it's the same game though. You're like a wizard and you have to like
Yes.
jump up and down platforms.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
Okay.
Dan, we need to go back to Solstice because that
All right,
game
we're
is
going back to it.
badass.
We're doing it.
In fact, Wade, can you pull up the Solstice theme? Because it is
We're
that
not
good.
talking about the music though right now. I was talking
I know,
about the
but I
actual
just need
puzzles.
to
Okay.
reconfirm how
right.
good the Solstice music is. So Solstice title theme. Just the opening to an NES game. All right, this is fine. Wait for this.
Is this
crap.
NES?
Wait. Come on.
It's pretty good.
It's amazing.
It wasn't SNES? It was NES?
No, they had a Super Nintendo one called Equinox.
That was the one I'm talking
yeah.
about.
Ah,
Yes. That's
okay.
the one that I'm talking about.
I think
yeah.
it's a spiritual successor to
Yes.
Solstice. That
Mhm.
proud lineage of games
Yeah.
that no one ever talks about.
Exactly right.
That's perfect. Hello, Game Informer crew, says Devin. A lot of people have very unpopular opinions, and I wanted to hear some of yours.
Wow.
Most unpopular opinion. He's going for like a game that you love, everybody else hates, vice versa, stuff like that. But really, any opinion that you think you're going to get raked over the coals for, this is your time to share it.
Brothers,
Oh,
A Tale of Two Sons is garbage.
Will he get raked over the coals for that?
Here's where I might meet you in the middle. The ending of that game, I think, is one of the most brilliant little twists in a game that I've ever seen. The rest of that game, I think, people are like, yeah. And then there's some mediocre puzzles along the way. So maybe with that aspect, is that where you're coming from?
Yeah, like I hate how like it's not difficult to play, it's annoying to play. And the puzzles aren't interesting and it's very mawkish. I just don't
mawkish?
Like it. Yeah.
What does that word mean?
Mawkish.
Yeah, sentimental, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even like the ending moments did not get you?
It's just nothing for me.
But Virginia does.
Yeah, Virginia, definitely. I love Virginia.
Oh, did you see, I think it was like a Glixel interview, the director or lead designer for Call of Duty World War II cited Virginia as a reference for the campaign of Call of Duty. So
well, all right then.
That's
just going to be interesting. I expect a lot of Twin Peaks references.
Bertz, what do you got?
Mine's easy. Everybody, we've probably talked about it. I hate Wind Waker. I think it's f***ing garbage.
Okay, that argument might be conceivable, except that you probably just hate it for the art style.
No, I mean the sailing. You just sail pointlessly forever.
Yeah.
I did not like that game. And that was the game where like Zelda and I just came to an impasse and we decided to go our own ways.
And Breath of the Wild, it's the lovely reunion.
It's okay. It's like baby's first open world game.
How? Jesus Christ. Expected to get some hate on this segment, but really that's like going out to get some coffee with an ex and you had the coffee and then you're like, no, still not for me.
No, I mean, it's fine. I think it's a good game. I don't think Breath of the Wild's a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. There's just a lot of like things that open world games had solved like 10 years ago that they're still struggling with or figuring out, I think would be a better term than struggling.
It's a real pioneer. Also, Bert, just to lob one at you again, you don't care for the art in Overwatch.
No, not really.
That's fine.
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
What?
I think that's the most reasonable
I like
one that's
it.
come up.
Yeah.
Good God, Dantek, what do you got?
I got one. Final Fantasy hasn't been good since 7.
7 was the
Period.
last good one?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And it never will be again.
I disagree, but that's not an outrageous thing to say.
Isn't it? It's pretty outrageous.
I'll go on the record and say there are only 5 games that are still fun to play today, taking nostalgia out of the equation. I know it's very difficult. Removing all nostalgia, only 5 NES games hold up.
Regular NES.
The rest
games.
is borderline garbage.
Regular NES?
Regular NES.
No way. 5? No.
5.
Just 5?
I think it's gotta be more than 5.
I'll give it to Mario 3. The art I still think is great.
Yeah.
Right? Tetris.
Okay.
No one's going to argue with that.
No.
Balloon Fight, still fantastic. Punch Out.
Okay.
A lot of personality, still fun. Mega Man 2. And that's even on the fence for stripping all nostalgia out. The rest,
way.
not fun today.
You're out of
not
your
fun
mind.
to play
There's
in a modern context.
There's at least 20 more I can think. Come on, dude.
Unpopular opinion. I'm just saying everyone has so much nostalgia, but like we just replayed the first Zelda not that long ago for Super Replay. That was rough. That was really, really
I'm
rough.
not even count, like we take Zelda out of it. I mean, we could spend all day talking about this, but I don't think we can. Like that's ridiculous. But there's so many other great titles for NES that
I think it's nostalgia. I think if you give any of those other games to a kid, they would be horrified and bored.
How is that the criteria?
Tecmo Bowl's still fun.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Is that your
There's
criteria?
case
If
to
the
make
game is
for
good, if you
Baseball
give it to a
stars.
kid and they like it?
I'm just saying removing nostalgia. The easiest way to remove
ridiculous.
nostalgia, give it to a kid.
No, that's not. That's ridiculous.
Dan, we have to move on. We have to
we
move
do.
on. No time
All
to
right.
argue. All right, next email is from Ben Bade from Missouri. Missouri, as Dan says.
That's what I say.
So he wrote a long email about how much he loves the stamina wheel in Breath of the Wild. And then he says, what is one game mechanic in any game that you all really liked but felt was unnoticed or unappreciated by the community in general? Thank you very much for making my favorite podcast. Also, go a little easy on Dantek for me next time, would you? He's people too.
Yeah.
He's yet to be seen.
Well, amen to that. He's got the best email.
Dan, I want you to do the Terminator 2 thing and just like cut your wrist open, just show whether or not you are in fact human. Not bleed all over the place. Just show me what's underneath a little bit.
I'll let you know. I'll let you take a look later.
Thank you. One game mechanic we really liked. Felt like it was underappreciated.
See, I have one in mind, but I don't know if I feel it was underappreciated. That's the bad part. So,
Well, what is it?
The Darkest Dungeon Insanity mechanic, affliction system.
Oh, it's so good.
It's really good.
Like,
I think that's pretty well regarded.
Yeah, I do
I mean,
too.
that's just
doesn't count.
Eternal Darkness, though, isn't it? I mean, more or less.
No, it's very different, actually. I
Yeah?
think. Yeah.
Where's that?
Because like the Eternal Darkness one seems very narrative focused,
Yeah.
right? Where this one is actually like a meter that feels like you pay for your mistakes.
It's another resource you have to balance. In standard RPG, you just balance your HP and MP, and you're all set. This is like a completely different, weird kind of resource management.
Yeah.
And just like and it has that cool breaking point where when you're being completely tested, you will likely go crazy and kill the rest of your people and your team in some horrible ways. But you could have your shining moment of victory and come out better for the ordeal.
Do you like the idea of like the panic system in XCOM as well? Are you just into that whole idea of people breaking?
No, I hate it in that game.
Oh, really?
So annoying in that game. Yeah.
Huh. What's the difference in your mind? Just having like a meter to manage is just makes night and day?
No. I guess just in XCOM, the guy just always doesn't, then just starts running away and screaming, and you lose.
Yeah, this is on a gradient. Like you can see it building, and you can make a call like, oh, I got to extract right now. If I got something good, I want to get out of here. Like you have that opportunity.
What if there was like a cool Lovecraft angle over all of XCOM? Though, would you be into it then, Dan?
It's kind. I mean. Wait, did I ever say I didn't like XCOM? I'm confused here.
Never mind. One that is just a small feature that I really love that people didn't talk about is Portal 2 co-op. The fact that you could play co-op on PS3 with somebody playing on Steam.
That's really cool.
That was so wild. And you thought it was like, well, this is the dawn of the new era. It's like, nope, that's just a one-off. No one's going to remember it. We're moving on.
For me, I think we went back and forth over this during the game club, but I always appreciated BioShock's sort of Pokemon Snap research feature.
Oh, okay.
Like and Prey's got it too.
Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, where you take pictures of enemies and then you learn their weaknesses or like acquire abilities. Like I love that.
Yeah, that is a good one for sure. Any camera in any game. Africa, I know you're a huge fan of.
Oh my God, I've never played Africa, but I've watched like gameplay of it. I kind of want to play it.
It has a very slow build, but once it finally takes the reins off you, I think it's kind of fun. Anyways, first, what do you got?
There's one that was left in the dustbin of history that I thought we were never going to see again, but then it came back and manifested itself in weird ways last year with the time manipulation device from Singularity. I love that concept. I loved it. 2. Titanfall 2 used it for a level really well, and Dishonored 2 also played with that. Concept.
Even Prey, like we talked about earlier, it's weird to have 2 Arcane games that kind of deal with that when you're looking through the window and seeing the past. Yeah, always fun for sure. I don't know if you played through Skyward Sword, but there's also an area like that in Skyward Sword you should check out, Bert's.
I should, huh?
Anyways, next email here, it says, hey, you idiots, email from California here. Who is this? Rude SOB.
He's from California.
Yeah, get ready for this dorky question, y'all. This is something the Overblood group on Facebook does every now and again, and I get a kick out of it. What's your current phone background and why? I think dumb little questions like this can say a lot about a person. Right now, my phone background is Sonic 2's Hidden Palace Zone, the level that was scrapped from the original but remade by Christian Whitehead for the iOS port. Miss you guys, from Tim Turry. Tim really wants to know what our iPhone backgrounds
Background
are.
or wallpaper? Like
wallpaper,
like
let's go with.
Yeah, mine's Breath of the Wild, just Link standing on like a mountain. Or
mine's standard, so like...
What does standard mean?
It's just like one of the defaults.
It's just, what? It's basically just the Windows... Green Hill?
Yeah, man. It's just...
That's so lame. Why don't you put a picture of your loved ones, your cute dog, anything?
Because Zantax's a man of mystery.
That's right.
International.
Could be anything, right?
Are you just like a default kind of guy? Like your theme on your PS4 at home, just default? Everything default.
Any game that you load up with a character builder, Dan's default. Like the load default guy.
Oh my God. You know what? Tim's right. This does say a lot about somebody.
There you go.
I have a very dorky Richard Feynman art. The physicist, but like, I read his book.
You told Tim to write this in, didn't you?
No, I really didn't.
And he about your wallpaper.
And so Richard Feynman, this physicist, has like doodles where he's drawn like naked people and butts, and then also just equations everywhere, and
makes a lot of
sense.
Put some
funky filters on it.
I think you're right. This does say a lot about people.
Yeah,
you're exactly. Absolutely right.
I'm a dad. Mine's my daughter.
Of course. There we go. No equations anywhere to be seen. Very sweet. There we go. Come home, Tim. Anyways, Brian Rodriguez from Dallas, Texas says, hey, GI crew, simple question for you. What modern video game would you want to show your 10-year-old self, and what aspects of that game do you think your young self would be amazed by?
What modern video game?
Yeah.
Titanfall 2.
Are there any modern video games that include Amazon, Netflix, or something I could tell my 10-year-old self to invest heavily into somehow?
Interesting. Let's see. Some sort of hidden message.
Any of the big, huge things that explode at Facebook, even something like that.
Right. Well, what like if you left a note in Dark Souls? Is there any way to communicate invest in Amazon stock in a Dark Souls 3?
There is not.
Note? Okay.
You can't put your own things in there. You can just the usual messages, and those are always hilarious because they mean nothing, right?
Yeah. This is maybe unexpected because graphically it's a piece of crap, and design-wise it's basically a piece of crap. Pokemon Go, I think, would have made me shit at my pants if I would have seen that back in the day. Like, what? Sure. I can catch Pokemon anywhere in the world on the street, and there might be some unique ones in my hometown. Like, that's it. mind-blowing.
I think it's still mind-blowing.
Yeah?
Just wish it would be a little bit, more mind-blowing. But yes.
So much potential.
Yes.
Bert, see everything?
I don't know. Like probably one of the open worlds, like Witcher, GTA 5.
Or the best
like,
one, Breath of the Wild. Yeah. GTA 5 is a great example. Like just showing that on PC up and running.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I think I went with Titanfall 2 just because like I was playing Half-Life and Opposing Force and that sort of game, and it's like Titanfall 2 for me is like sort of the pinnacle of that. Like sort of like, okay, here's like a 6-hour single player shooter, and that's the best one.
You will have a great time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not Wolfenstein. You're betraying yourself.
I know.
I've gone over
I
this
don't
on the
even think he
podcast
knew he
before.
was saying it. Now
Titanfall
he's
2
gonna
is a
deal with
better
that.
game than Wolfenstein. I love Wolfenstein, but Titanfall 2 is better.
That's what's known as a popular opinion. Kevin from Pennsylvania says, "Hey, Ben and the gang, I've been wondering if there's a way to search for reviews on Game Informer's site by editor. I've clicked on various editors' profiles, but the reviews section is always empty. What's up with that? From listening to the show and reading the website, I found my gaming interests really aligned with TAC and JV. I've tried to search out specific
Right on.
games to see if they've reviewed them and to get their take on them, but I cannot find a way to do this. Am I blind?"
He is blind, but you can actually use OpenCritic
Yep.
to do exactly that
Yeah.
if he wants to find it by
That's
editor.
another site.
Yeah, it's like Metacritic, but you can actually search the reviewer's name. So,
And it'll tell you like Dan Tack scores games 15 to 20% higher than every
Point.
other
Oh,
editor.
really?
It's not
Yeah.
nearly that high.
You keep you watch this page
Yeah,
quite a
of
bit?
course I do.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, mine's like 0.0041 points lower than everyone else scores games on the regular. It's very strange, the statistics they do.
Has Quad Cow not got in there yet? I don't understand.
Yeah, we
How
got
can
a
that
couple
curse
more
still be
Quad
there?
Cows.
People,
Virginia's
people
in
gave
there.
Quad Cal good reviews.
I know, JV. You've been redeemed. Don't worry. Anyways, Brian in Washington says, "Hello, Ben and GI crew. Your top 5 RPG discussion on personal and in Dantec's case, not personal, but best made favorites got me thinking about a game I loved as a kid, but I haven't heard discussed a ton. By the way, we got a lot of feedback. People like that episode. He
Go figure.
really loved Lunar 2 Eternal Blue, and he says no one talks about it.
We did miss that one. We missed the Silver Star story as well.
That's
the Lunar
true.
games both, they just... Okay, go on.
Yeah, even Lufia too. All the good L's.
Yeah.
For a PS1 game of that size to be almost entirely done with voiceover still amazes me. I remember receiving Lunar 2 as a gift from my parents one year for Christmas and being surprised that they'd ordered me a copy of the deluxe edition, something I'd never gotten on my own. It came with a copy of the soundtrack, a hardcover instruction manual, medallion, and more, but far and away the weirdest item in the set was a hand puppet of the game's main villain, Galleon. I remember thinking it was hilarious at the time and still have the little guy to this day. It's his best friend. So he's wondering if there's any weird collectibles in games that we appreciated. But I wanted to read this because I wanted to celebrate Lunar 2. I remember that crazy
Sure, I do too.
edition and that awesome looking medallion. And a friend of mine
was
got it.
awesome.
And one of the most generous things is my friend Alex gave me that medallion. And then I tried to be a super cool guy and like wore it to school a couple times. And you know what? I didn't quite pull it off.
You need to wear a cowboy hat with it. That's
Cowboy hat and the Lunar 2
There you go.
medallion.
I wonder if we could find anybody that we could interview about that day in Hanson's life. Like people that saw you rocking that medallion.
Yeah,
we've
in
all
like
done-
home economics
You're like, I'm
class or something.
Galleon.
Call me Galleon. I had a little hand puppet as well.
We've
Yeah.
all done embarrassing school things. Like I took a Harry Potter wand to school one day that was not on Halloween. Just cause.
Wait, like you kept it in your pocket?
Yeah. Like I shut it off too.
Or are you just happy to see it?
Whoa.
Whoa. Knew you're going there.
That's pretty dorky. Wait, you're really into Harry Potter?
I was.
Not anymore.
No,
Yeah,
I
you
still like
still
it.
You still
I
are.
still
Come
like
on,
Harry
Jamie,
Potter.
you're
I
still-
still
We're all,
like
we're all
Harry
friends
Potter.
here, JV.
Come on.
It's all right.
I still like Harry
All
Potter.
right.
Nothing wrong with
right.
liking Harry
Yeah,
Potter.
relax.
I'm not
relax.
saying there is.
Okay, relax.
Quit being so defensive, G.
William Hiddle from Layton, Utah says, "Hey, GI crew, recently booted up Dragon Quest IX on my DS to give it another go in anticipation of Dragon Quest XI that will eventually, be released on the Switch? In theory. We don't know stateside yet. It is only one save slot, Dragon Quest 9, so I had to delete my 200-plus hour save to start over. And only after sinking a few hours into the game and attempting to unlock the downloadable content did I realize I'd made a terrible mistake. Nintendo shut down the online support for the game in 2014. Is there anything you guys have been sad to see go in the online realm, or is there some current service that you're worried about?" That's just an interesting question. Just what's on the bubble?
Metal Gear Solid Online. Not for 4. Not for 5.
Oh, I was going to go with the same answer except for 3.
Oh, interesting.
You liked 4s?
Yeah, I like 4s a lot.
A
I think
lot,
that
really?
yeah. I think that's because like with 3, I didn't really have like the PS2 online capability stuff, so I never really played it that much. Played it at
Yeah.
a friend's house, but 4, I did have like a online hookup for the PS3, and it was super cool.
Have you ever heard a single person talk about Metal Gear Solid 5's multiplayer?
Just the like the DLC stuff for it is ludicrously expensive and whatnot.
Okay.
That's all I've heard.
Well, still, that's something.
Yeah.
It's up there with Dragon Age Inquisition's multiplayer, where it's just a ghost town of conversation, at least. Maybe there's a thriving community. I just have no idea what it's like.
Yeah.
Saving it all for Metal Gear Rising, right, Dan?
I'm saving everything for that game.
Yeah.
Oh.
Wait, is that what it's called? No, Survive.
Yeah, Survive.
Survive.
Metal Gear Rising was good.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
playing it again right now.
Can't wait for that one.
Dan, here's a dumb question.
Yeah.
Tribes Ascend, is that still online?
Is it? I don't know.
I
know
think
it,
so.
It's certainly, it might still be there. I know there was a huge uproar when it like lost a lot of support from Hi-Rez because they started putting more resources towards Smite.
Yeah.
Whether or not it still exists, I think it's probably still there. I don't know. I know they got in a lot of trouble for like taking down one of their first games, the one they had prior to Tribes Ascend. I forget what it was called. Some other spacey shootery game.
Okay.
But yeah, I think it's still around, and it was cool when I played it.
Yeah, it seemed to definitely get
I
there.
don't know if
with
it's
the
still
fan
there.
base. Yeah. There is just this weird no man's land of early phone games that I think about. It's such a bummer that they've just been pulled down and it's gone forever. But there's weird stuff you forget about. Like, obviously, in the Japanese scene, there's that Final Fantasy VII game where you play as the Turks. Do you know about this, Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's old. Also, I think someone on Twitter was talking about recently. I completely forgot about Metal Gear Mobile. Not the Metal Gear Solid 4 weird, light gun, not great game. But this was actually a full Metal Gear game that took place between Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. And now it's just gone forever.
I mean, you're going to see that happen a lot with mobile. I mean, like...
And console now. It's going to suck. That's
you just
the
turn
one that I'm worried about.
Yeah,
Turn the wheel.
apparently you can't get access to the Resident Evil 4 mobile port anymore. And I
Oh,
felt like
yeah.
that was super cool. And I'm bummed.
Yeah, even Hellblade, which we talked about, in the last episode, their iOS game, Ninja Theory's Fight Back. Before I went on the trip, I tried to download it to play it finally, and it's like, oh, not available anymore. And asked them about it. They're like, yeah, Shalinga just took it down. Sorry, goodbye forever.
Okay.
Good luck, historians that are interested in Fight Back from Ninja Theory.
Sure.
Dan from Waterford, Michigan. Do you know Waterford?
I know where Waterford is, yeah.
Oh, there we go. He says, hey, Ben and GI crew, I don't own a Nintendo Switch right now, but I want to get one in the near future. The thought of having a true console game that I can play anywhere is exciting. What past or present game do you want to be able to play anywhere? Any game in the GTA series would be my pick.
Resident Evil 4.
I wrote that down. I'm also more excited for, going far back, having Virtual Console handheld. It's stupid, but just a nice, crisp-looking version of, Mario 64 would be great. Not that the DS version is garbage, but...
But yeah, just one of the coolest things about the 3DS was that I could take Earthbound or Link to the Past or Super Metroid on the go, play it on a plane.
Yeah.
That would be super cool to have that for Nintendo 64 classics and whatnot.
God, and that screen looks so good.
Yeah.
I really want to see some of those retro games running on that thing. Stardew Valley is coming up. I think that's
That's
gonna be
a solid
fantastic.
playing game for you.
But I was thinking of what I'd want more than anything on Switch, and maybe Mass Effect HD collection.
Oh boy.
Wouldn't that be great to have all three Mass Effects handheld? How wild would that be?
Yeah, you're not getting that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any
okay to
insight into that,
dream.
Bertz?
Well, I mean, Microsoft still owns the rights for the first Mass Effect.
No, it came out on PS3 in the
That's
in
right.
the
it
trilogy
did,
collection. Yeah, it's a confusing, murky thing where they said they were working on it or thinking about it, and they said they aren't.
Yeah,
so-
an EA higher up said, "Oh yeah, that's totally going to happen," and then someone else higher up on the EA food chain said, "No." And that's exactly how that played
the
out.
voice of God came down and he said no. Alec from Situate, Massachusetts. Has there ever been a game that you could tell was going to be a masterpiece just from previewing it, or vice versa? One where you could tell it was going to be just awful. Thanks for making my long commute a whole lot better. Thank you, Alec.
That's a really interesting question because I think a lot of times the preview builds are always what's going to make the game look its best, if possible, right? You get a slice of the coolest stuff and not a lot of the bad stuff usually. Although it can go either way. Just in this episode, we're talking about Strafe, and JV had a very great experience with that in the preview build, right? And boy, didn't translate well to the final product.
Yeah, I think
On the flip side of that, I hate previewing stuff like Dark Souls or Bloodborne in a preview environment, right? You can't really dig into the game there. It's hey, here's a boss. Good luck. 5 minutes later, it's all right, well, how'd you do? It's just well, I can't really get into it here,
But what about that Dark Souls 3 trip where we were locked in office in Japan
what
and
a
you
good
played
one.
the demo over and
Woo.
over again? You
Wasn't
seem to
that
be
hot?
really enjoying yourself.
The demo that we'd already played 50 times? Yeah, that trip, so good.
It's very stressful for Dan.
I mean, I think Andromeda stands out in my mind because I went to San Francisco and I played one of the planets in the introduction. I was like, hey, this is pretty good. This is promising because I got time with the characters and I could see it was a 2-hour demo altogether, and I got time with the characters and I came away from it thinking, yeah, I can see myself getting interested in this world, but it was definitely the best bit of that game. Like, it was just, the final version, such a bummer for me. Like, I mean, go listen to the Game Club if you want all my thoughts on Andromeda's failures.
Yeah, Bertz, I always think back to the Assassin's Creed 3 cover story before the game was unveiled, because we're with Miller, and Miller knows his AC, and just seeing Connor like run through the forest in particular, where it's like there hadn't been that many open world games that have tried to conquer the wilderness. I mean, it was just basically Red Dead at that point for like a major, huge expanse. And I remember, I think it was at the hotel that Miller being like, there's a chance this could be like one of the greatest games of all time. Yeah. Really, because like coming off of Assassin's Creed 2, it looked so ambitious, weird setting. It had everything going for it. And Miller ended up really liking that game.
I think he was the only one. Yeah. There's a lot of those with the cover trips that we do. I remember one in particular, maybe two. Kane and Lynch. The first time we saw Kane and Lynch, it looked awesome. We were like, this game could be really special. And they came back and showed us their next demo like a year or 2 later. It was the same thing. They were like, you didn't build anything on top of this. Yeah. That was it. That was okay.
Right.
And then one I really had high hopes for because I thought it was doing something a lot of shooters don't do, and it was taking war seriously. Rainbow Six Patriots. Yes. I was really interested in that concept, and obviously Ubisoft decided that thing needed to die.
Yeah, the sad fate of Patriots. I wonder if there's anything we can do with all of that content we had at Patriots. I think we re-promoted the hub over social one time. Like, hey, if you want to stroll down memory lane,
that
look at
20-minute video or whatever is online. You know, we posted that video of the game.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. That demo that leaked. Yeah. So Anthony Mulvern from Pennsylvania has a very simple question. Where the hell is Matt Miller? We need more of him on the show to talk about Destiny 2. Yeah, I agree. He is a crazy resource, and I'm sure he has a million thoughts on Destiny 2, so hopefully sometime soon we can have him empty his brain on the show, because it's been a while since we've talked about Destiny. Mm-hmm. Anyways, wait a minute. Anthony also wrote in again.
What?
Asking about if we recommend the podcast and the magazine to people in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
All the time.
Like outside a convention setting? Like, where you're having all the time. Beers at a bar, and you just be like, hey, you checked out the podcast?
Absolutely.
God bless you, Dan Tech. Good soldier.
I take great pride in the work we do here.
I do too.
No problem sharing it.
For sure. That's amazing. I always try and sheepishly be like, oh, if you like gaming podcasts, maybe. It's weird, like when I have friends who really listen to a lot of gaming podcasts, and it's always like a subtle thing where they never mention this one. It's like, hey, maybe you could check it out. You might like it. I don't know.
They're your friends, right? Why are you beating around the bush?
Friends like these, who needs friends?
She's like, get in there. Okay, ours is really cool.
You're right, Dan. I will grab him by the shoulders. Right. You're absolutely right. Speaking of which, if you like this podcast, if you just told a friend, I would appreciate it so much.
I'll tell two.
There we go, Dan. Tom Awesome from Roseville, Minnesota writes in and says, what's the deal with fish?
I like this question.
The band?
Can he win, please?
No, not the band. Unless it's a typo.
Well, they live in water, and sometimes you eat them.
They're delicious.
Yeah.
Here's a simple question for
Most
Birds.
of them.
Is going fishing underrated as an activity for Game Informer's audience?
I like it.
I like it too.
It's
you
very
can bring
soothing.
a Switch if you get bored too. You know,
ice fishing with a Switch. What's better?
Yeah.
What's better? Go for it. Thomas Disser. Simple question again. You are Bond villains. You each have unique layers with minions and automated defenses. You have captured 007. What set-piece torture device, death trap, do you insidiously threaten him with?
I don't, because I know that's the failing. As soon as you do that, it gets too complicated. Just shoot him, and that's it.
Okay, so just the full Austin Powers thing. Just shoot him, he's right there.
Right.
So the second you see Bond, you're just unloading.
There's no need for a monologue. There's no need for an elaborate death machine. Just
you're going to be Han Solo seeing Darth Vader in Empire at the dinner table. Just immediately start shooting.
Go for it. Right.
It's a good move. Davey, what do you got?
Giant smashy rock thing that comes down and kills him immediately without any monologuing or whatsoever.
He can dodge that.
Yeah, see, that's a trap. Something could go wrong.
Yeah. Well, you saw the way Leon did it in Resident Evil 4. He's immediately quick timing his way out of that.
If you're not quick enough. And I think Leon's cooler than James Bond. So
crushing's good. I actually thought that exact thing because they can come back from anything.
Serial crusher.
Yeah, this 007 piece of crap, right? So you like chain him to the floor, make sure he's nice and steadily locked down, and then just get a full steamroller, slowly going towards him, starting at his feet, just working slowly up his entire body. I assume he just like would explode like a tick at a certain point.
So who framed Roger Rabbit, right?
Yeah, you really got to get this guy, absolutely, and then throw a black hole on his face.
You put a lot of thought into this.
I just think that it's a crazy way to die.
About,
like if a steamroller was slowly coming up from your legs, at what point would you pass out? Immediately? Kneecaps? At
I think
some point.
by the time it got to your knees, the shock would probably have gotten to you.
Thank you, Dantech.
There's probably
Medical
a Faces
expert.
of Death video that you can
I don't want
find.
to.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is a great
mine's.
conversation.
I would just call Jason Bourne and tell him that Bond was one of the architects of Project Treadstone, and
There
he
you
would
go.
be dead.
There's no chance he
because
gets out of
Jason
that
Bourne
one.
would annihilate that little bastard.
Yep.
Jason Bourne don't take no ass. What do you guys like? Question of the week.
Like the fish.
Fish.
Jeez!
That
He
guy
didn't say anything.
That guy needs a reward. He needs a prize, man.
You guys go with absurdity. Bert's, be the voice of reason here. There's some great stuff. Let's see, talking about games that no one else talks about that we played a lot of back in the day. That was fun, right?
It's fun, but it's
Underappreciated things. Ooh, iPhone wallpaper. Well, maybe not because that's Tim.
It's either
we're not
Bond or
giving Tim
fish.
anything.
It's the Bond question of the fish.
Fish.
I can't
Fish.
argue with the majority here.
fish.
Fish.
All right, Tom Awesome from Roseville, Minnesota. We'll ship you out a
Awesome.
live fish guaranteed to live forever. I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks, everybody that wrote in. Podcast@GameInformer.com if you want us to read your email next week. As for now, hey, let's talk to Princess Zelda, everybody.
All right.
Here she is. Patricia Summersett, welcome to the Game Informer Show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's nice to have you. We don't have too many actors on the show, so it's always a unique take. So you are the voice of Princess Zelda. I don't know if you're aware of this.
I am. I guess I'm aware of it.
Okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh, am I? This
That's
is
exciting.
incredible.
Zelda has a voice. What the hell's going on? Do you want to just walk us through the process, how this came into your life, how this whole thing happened?
Wow. So it kind of came, and then I realized what it was. So I was on the verge of. I had just moved to LA, and I've been working mostly out of Canada for a long time. So upon submitting a bunch of my materials and that sort of thing to various casting directors, I got this audition. And from the audition, went into the studio to do this particular role, which I didn't know what it was at the time. I figured it was like a royal princess.
What was the wording?
Descriptors that I went by,
how was it labeled?
classic and that sort of thing. Weight of the world on her shoulders, blah, blah, blah. And then from there, I got a call back several weeks later, went in for the callback. I had a feeling it was like a cool project, but I just had no idea what it was. And so right around the time of recording it, that's when it was broken to me that it was in fact the role of Princess Zelda. And it was a shocker. I would tell you that. Kind of flipped my world a little bit.
So you knew it was a video game, and they just said some sort of classic character. Regal, perhaps, like just vague and mysterious like that.
Yeah, I got that. She was a young princess. That like those descriptors were there. But it obviously kept very vague what the actual story was. But upon retrospect, I'm like, oh yeah, of course, those were all they were all there, and they make a lot of sense now.
Yeah. So I think in some fans' mind, they imagine like Miyamoto from Nintendo sitting there going through the audition process. But is it entirely outsourced? Were there any Nintendo reps sitting on that audition, or how involved was Nintendo in this process?
Well, I think they were very involved. They weren't necessarily in the room during the auditions, but like during a lot of the recording sessions, they would be. It was a very collaborative process, had to get approved by a lot of people. So it would have been the casting director, Jamie Mortellaro. He was a big part of the audition process. And then that sort of got sent out during the audition, and I'm assuming approved while it was being done.
Okay. Did you get
partly live, partly not? Yeah.
Here's a weird question. Do you know why you got the part? Do you know what they liked about the sound of your voice as embodying Princess Zelda?
I have been asking myself that question. I mean, not that I don't agree with my voice in any way, but I mean, just to be chosen for such a particular role as this, you've got to go like, why me? How did that happen? I don't know. I usually, in the past, I've been cast for roles that sort of the depth of my voice has something to do with why I get cast. A lot of female warriors and stuff like that. I wondered, was it all the work I'd done previously, or mixed with the sound of what I did, or I really don't know. I imagine I went in with something that sounded kind of classic. And I couldn't have predicted that's what they were looking for, but whatever the offering was, it seemed to make sense for them at the time. So
yeah. And so the script for the edition, was it just generic? Was it, hey, the blood moon rises once again, or how specific?
There was no
that
blood
script?
moon.
No blood moon. Okay,
Absolutely not.
Taking a note.
It was more generic. It was generic, but mirroring the themes that would ultimately become part of the real script.
Right. And so then when you actually
figured I would have clued in or something. But
so when you went in for the actual performance, then do you remember any direction that you were given from the voice director, or even channeled from Nintendo through the voice director, that really stuck with you?
Well, that's interesting. I haven't heard that question before.
Or was it just, I'm just going to repeat the tone of my audition because I guess they like that?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of like testing of range as they were sort of narrowing down, like testing the dynamics of the voice and that sort of thing to see how far it stretched in either direction within that sort of realm of a character, as they were probably like sculpting exactly what they wanted. But whatever the tones were pretty, I think they were pretty decided upon, I guess. I can't really know.
Totally. Well, what about just the basics? I mean, you say classic. When you see the word classic, does that just mean, British accent? Or is there any way you can compare the actual performance of this game and the recording of it to other projects? Was it a more difficult recording process, easier? I mean, did you have to have more range, less range than usual? How would you put this in the stack against other games you've worked on?
Wow. I'd say it was challenging in that the range that I was working in was pretty particular. It's a little higher than my natural speaking voice, as you can hear. It wasn't, and dubbing work particularly is it's really, really detailed, fine work that you have to sync up the lip flaps with like such detail. So that in itself is a challenge. It takes a lot of focus in a room. If you do a 4-hour session, you have to be like really, really, you have to keep at it. You have to keep injecting life into it. But then there's the adrenaline of the size of the project that you're doing, and you're like, wow. And so it really carries you through in a lot of ways. It is very different from some of the other roles I've done that involves a lot of really heavy barking, which is a different kind of stamina. I love them both. But yeah, where it stacks up, I'd say it was pretty challenging, but not impossible.
That's interesting. I mean, the lack of heavy barking, just because Zelda isn't really in the gameplay section so much. So by heavy barking, you mean like, get that item over there, that like screaming, those types of things? Something
that they call like barks and onos, just in a session where you do, sometimes you'll go and do a game and you get like just a sheet where you're just like, bah, bah, you do all the voices, you do all the deaths, all the sort of synchronized, hit by a bomb, fall down onto the floor and die, make it sound like you're falling off a cliff, make it sound like you're on a horse panting or whatever.
Right.
So there's none of that in this game.
Yeah. When you read the script, were you ever confused about, wait, why isn't Link talking back? What is going on here? It's all one-sided conversations.
Right. No, I had a feeling that he was going to be silent as the process was going on, and I only got bits of script just shortly before I was doing them. There wasn't a lot of like, we're going to send out this whole script to anybody and let anybody see, because it was such protected material.
Yeah,
Link's he speaks through his eyes. It's fine.
His beautiful, beautiful eyes. Yeah. So when you found out that this is for the next Zelda game, how long did you have to keep that secret? How difficult was it to keep the secret?
Ooh, well, not telling people was not a problem for me because I was super paranoid about it, just leaking in any fashion whatsoever. But I kept it. I held it for about a year. I thought it might have had to have been longer because I didn't know what the release dates were either. But yeah, it was an interesting year holding that.
And then it was what, E3 last year? So like last June? I'm trying to remember when they first unveiled the trailer with the voice. Maybe it was
E3.
Okay.
It was E3, yeah, and they had the big Zelda world, and it was quite the event. I didn't attend, but I was watching from my computer, poring over the live streams and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Did you get a flood of people on Twitter then being like, is this you? This sounds familiar.
Oh gosh, no. I mean, it sounds so different from my speaking voice. There'd be no way that anybody would have been able to tell that it was me by any stretch. It was quite out of the blue, but yeah.
So what's been
there was a lot of speculation of if it was even the voice of Zelda at that point. So
that's right. So when did the reaction come? What sort of feedback have you received so far in the performance?
Oh man, it's been a fascinating and incredible journey since this thing is released on March 3rd, which was the first, of course, announcements of everything coming out, the first announcements of any our involvement as voice actors, like particulars to that. I get approached every day with lots of love online, and I'm getting invited to places. I just got back from Kuwait. I was at a convention there. So I'm just really looking forward to this journey this year. I'm at the very beginning of it. It's been extraordinary and a little overwhelming, but all in a good way.
Yeah. I mean, just the convention life, like, not that you need to spend the rest of your life at conventions, but in a way you could be set for life just going to conventions and having a huge banner with the awesome Princess Zelda art from Breath of the Wild. You're set. Just fandom for life.
I suppose. I mean, I don't look at it like that. I've got a lot of other things that I will do and have done and want to do. But I'm certainly appreciating the hype while it's here. And that will be a big part of my year, is obviously just accommodating this role and this lore into my everyday. It's fascinating. And I love conventions. I mean, I haven't gone to many, I've just started, but you meet the most amazing people who all love fantasy there. It's like they're the best group of people to meet.
What do they say to you? What's the most common refrain that fans say to you at those conventions?
A common refrain?
Yeah, what do they constantly ask you?
I usually, I've had a lot of people just say that they grew up with this franchise and that it means the world to them, and they're so happy that there's voice acting, and they're so happy to meet me. And I'm like, wow, I'm happy to meet you too. It's like, you're like, I'm meeting the best people. I'm meeting all the people who are really happy to meet me.
Yeah, you say they're happy to have voice acting finally in this series. I mean, that must have been so much pressure. Were there discussions in the recording process, I don't know, the voice director or anybody else, about like, hey, we should all acknowledge that this is a big deal, that Zelda's finally breaking the seal and adding full voice acting here?
It wasn't, I don't think there was really time for a lot of discussion, inside the room. It was pretty focused work, pretty efficient space, because there was a lot to do, and the work was very detailed and, took the time that it took. So it was all very focused when it came to actual recording. But of course, we were all like, I'm giggling like fools, like, oh my God, this is so amazing all the time. And I'm really only now meeting a lot of the voice actors that I shared the experience with. So probably going to be Bill, who plays my father, Elizabeth Maxwell, who plays Urbosa. I'll be hooking up with them at some conventions this year, and I can't wait. It's gonna be pretty cool.
That's gonna be really satisfying. Yeah, for sure. What does the future look like for you? Have you already done any recording for any DLC for Zelda you can talk about?
First of all, if I had been, I would not be able to speak about that at all. But right. I'm just gonna completely forget that question, because I can't. There's no way I could answer it anyway. But the future looks for me like I'm working on other games. I still do TV, film. I'm writing music. Those are my general everydays, and I split my time between Canada and the US, and I just kind of fly back and forth at random. So I'm just a bit like unplanted and enjoying myself flying around everywhere, I guess.
Yeah. Have you noticed any doors opening when you have like the first real Princess Zelda on your IMDb page? It's not a bad detail there. Have people talked about that with you just in the audition process? Have they been like, what? Princess Zelda? Oh my God.
Funny enough, it hasn't. Well, actually, in some of the games that I'm working on now, I'll be working on a different game with a different company, and then have people kind of nerd out and take selfies with me and then bring in their stuff to get autographs. That's interesting, because it kind of gives me more clout working on other games, which is kind of fun. But as far as like, I don't know, TV and film and stuff like that, there isn't a heck of a lot of crossover at this time. So I'm hoping there will be more in the future.
Yeah, for sure. Was there any feedback that's really stood out to you? You want to share any misconceptions people may have about the process, or anything you want to clear up that you see online?
Oh gosh. It's interesting. I feel like whatever people have been, because of course you get trolling and stuff like that as well. I've had a lot of people who have warmed up to my voice, who initially were skeptical of it. I think there was a lot of very impassioned people who had an idea of what they wanted it to sound like. And I'm sure you get every perspective. And I respect them all as long as they are reasonable and not mean. But I think one of the nice things has been recently, a lot of people have approached me and said, I was skeptical at first. I didn't know what to expect. And then upon playing the game and beating the game, I really just have to reach out to you right now and tell you how much I love it and blah, blah, blah. So that's been something that's been deeply nice and satisfying for me.
Yeah.
As a voice actor.
Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us on the show. Really appreciate it. And congratulations on Zelda. I think it's selling all right.
Yeah, I heard it's selling all right. Yeah, really happy for Nintendo.
Yeah, but cool. Thank you for joining us, Patricia.
Thank you. Really appreciate it.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. We're joined by a rockstar crew of Game Informer interns slowly working their way out the door. We had a big old pizza party. Everything they've always asked for. Finally, some pizza for these interns.
There were ponies.
Oh
it was
my
great.
gosh. Ponies and Andy McNamara cracking jokes. What more do you want? All right, so we have Manon Hume. Welcome, Manon.
Hi.
We have Zach Wojner. Welcome,
Hey.
Zach. And Jordan Lenderson. Is that close?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Perfect.
Nail on the head, Hanson.
Welcome, you guys. How long have you guys been here?
Too long. It's been about
That's what we like to hear.
1,000 years.
1,000 years.
Yeah.
So
3 months
you
or so.
are on your way out the door. You've had 3 months or so of learning the ways of Game Informer, hiding out in a very tight office. You know, we don't really focus. There's a real bond that forms between all the interns because you guys are locked in an office, cranking away stories, pouring your hearts out, working on different passes on features.
There isn't even a window anymore. It was like we were just caged in even more.
Well, look, the
than
building's
usual.
kind of under construction. It's a
Halfway
very
through, they
confusing.
were like, "Do you like your window?" Too bad.
What I always like this question. What was surprising? What did you expect when you started versus now that you know everything about the silly magazine we run here, where you're like, oh, it's more this than I expected?
It's more professional than I expected.
No one's ever said
It's
that.
less professional than I was expecting.
All right. I
No,
want to
I
hear
was
that.
expecting like a real ship, and it was like a lifeboat on the Titanic.
Right.
No. It was great.
Keep it up, Zach.
It's great. I'm gonna
Jordan,
get
what
lots of
did you
jobs
mean by
out of
that
this.
exactly?
I don't know. I didn't have a terrible load of expectations going in. I was just, lucky to be able to go work with Game Informer in Minnesota. And yeah, I didn't expect from what I pretty much know of Game Informer is entirely the podcast, the replays, the super replays. And so to get here and like that is a very distinctive kind of fun freewheeling side.
Sure.
And to get here and everybody is very much, as should be expected of an office, much more business than that. I got to see a different side to everybody that I don't think a lot of people see.
We're all two-faced monsters.
Pretty much, yeah.
No, but you get a lot of like, oh, I'm on the 5th pass of a feature, very critical writing notes.
Yes.
Not that we're overly negative, but the point is to kind of like, hey, here's how we'd expect this thing to be written in a professional setting, yada, yada, yada. So was that part of it? Is just more passes on features than you guys
That's funny.
expected?
That's actually what I was. Jordan and I came in with the exact opposite expectations because I watch the shows
Sure.
here and there from time to time,
Uh-huh.
but it's also my main source of news for video games. Like, and it has been since I was like, probably since the website started,
Oh, okay.
or
Wow.
at least since I've been on video game news.
Sure.
That's always been the first thing,
It's a clean
whenever I-
interface, yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh yeah, the back end of this website.
Don't talk about the
Oh,
back end. The
oh,
front
yeah,
is
yeah.
wonderful. Front is
okay,
wonderful.
so this one's on her. She started that. She opened that can of worms. But no, just it was actually a lot more chill than I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be like Perry White being like,
Right.
you got to do this. I need 600 words by nightfall.
So you guys worked a lot with Ben Reeves and Jeff Cork, and they weren't
Yeah.
very J. Jonah Jameson for you then?
Ben Reeves is a little bit.
Okay.
No. and
Less
I
silly
was
than you would imagine Ben Reeves would be, right?
Way less silly. And I
Yeah.
talked to Cork about this. 'Cause I was
Interesting.
like, Reeves was weirdly intimidating around us.
Was
Which
it?
is something like
might
it's
have just
something-
been you.
That could have just
I
been
say.
me, but Cork said that like Yeah, when he's working with the interns, he's a totally different person.
I love it. Yeah, I love
which
that he
is
gets a little more serious.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
See, because like
but
it
was
just
a great time.
I love that deadpan sense of humor, and so I totally just came in and I was like, so there's like the Reeves that does the man on the street, which is always like great because it has that, but then it's like a different kind of deadpan when he's talking to us, and I always thought it was funny, but I could definitely see
Interesting.
how it could be intimidating.
So he has the
like,
same facial
oh.
expression when he's messing with a stranger versus explaining,
Yeah.
some grammatical nonsense.
Pretty
It's like,
much.
at what point is he going to crack? What is this?
I
Yeah,
didn't
I don't
see
know.
him
I haven't seen him crack yet.
Crack a smile for at least like working around us for at least 2 months.
Ah, that's insane.
Well,
Yeah.
no, he laughed. He laughed a lot when I said I think that this is ready for second pass.
Oh, okay,
It's like,
perfect.
oh, that's hilarious.
Do you
are
guys?
so funny.
Do you feel like you learned something, Manon? Was there a big
Yeah.
theme for a takeaway?
Well, I mean, for me especially, I bring this up all the time. I had done very little with journalism before coming here, and so I just learned a ton about, parsing through, like, for news stories, how to get the important details, do them fast, stuff like that. And especially, too, with, like, branching out beyond knowing just sort of your niche is really important to learn for, like, writing features and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was really great. People did give such good feedback about, like, this is, how you should approach this, or like this makes it sound like you're trying to say this and that's not what you're trying to say. I don't think so.
I don't think. Is there one feature you guys are each most proud of that you'd want people to Google up?
Definitely.
What do you got?
For me, it was the Smash Brothers, the Melee piece. I took a deep dive into the competitive community. I got to interview some pretty big figures in the competitive Melee scene.
The Hand.
Yeah.
Master Hand himself.
Khan and Wife, and those names will mean something to people who know the scene. But it was as a scene that I did not have a whole lot of knowledge of, even though I'm pretty into fighting games and follow a lot of communities. It gave me a really fresh perspective on it, and I'm really proud of the work I did there.
Was it more focused on the community, or did you learn anything about the game itself? Like,
yeah,
this is the
why
secret genius.
people really love the game, why it's lasted. Like, it has a competitive scene that's going on 16 years.
Is
which
it just
kind of insane.
complexity with the wave dashing?
It
or-
is. It's complexity, but also it's a very interpretive game, and this is something that a lot of people are kind of decrying Street Fighter V for right now, because it's not a very interpretive game. It is, you have your characters, they have their setups, and pro players are just going to keep using that again and again.
Right.
Whereas Smash, you can take two characters and two different people can play them entirely different. It's a different game every time.
And that's why it's the best fighting game ever, right, Jordan?
Yeah, sure. Maybe.
Really? Are you a big fighting game guy?
I'm a big fighting game guy. Not enough to crown a best one ever, but yeah, I'm pretty into it.
All right. Zach, what's your favorite?
My favorite fighting game?
Your favorite feature? Let's go with.
Oh, right.
Your favorite feature in Super Smash Bros. Melee.
Oh, definitely.
Get up on that mic.
L
by the way, Zach.
canceling.
What's that thing where you go on the ledge and then someone else is trying to get on the ledge? And
Ledge grab?
You make them fall down.
Ledge hog.
Ledge hogging.
Oh, okay.
Oh, now my favorite feature, what I thought it was going to be going in is not what it turned out to be.
Okay.
I think when I was going in, I thought it was going to be this one comparing Xbox Live games with gold versus PlayStation Plus.
Just the entire lifespan of those?
The past 2 years.
Okay, fair.
And I thought, wow, this is going to be like a crazy objective math-based thing, which isn't really my total scene.
Yeah.
But as soon as I started plugging those numbers into Excel, it was like, oh God, this is so overwhelming and it's going to take forever and it's a hassle.
You're plugging in reviews?
No,
Review
well, I
scores?
was putting in the Metacritic score and how old the games were by the time they came out.
Interesting.
And how much they cost when they came out.
And so what did the piece end up being?
Well, it was that.
I see.
It was so much more difficult than I thought it was going to be.
And the winner was?
Well, the winner is whichever one you have. You're getting a great deal, but it was PlayStation.
I'll be damned. He has declared the winner of the console war.
Yeah, I mean, it's all in there. I mean, you obviously didn't read it, Ben.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
But what ended up being my favorite one was probably the one that I wrote, the one that I wrote last, which is comparing the best and worst games in different series. So it's like Resident Evil 2 versus Resident Evil 6.
Oh, like mainline only.
Yeah, mainline only. No,
Okay.
that would have been like Gun Survivor or something.
Yeah.
Or Operation Raccoon City.
Of course. Did you
but-
consult Jordan? Jordan, aren't you a crazy Resident Evil fan?
Aren't
you like a fucking crazy person?
I absolutely am.
Okay.
No, I'm a big Resident Evil fan. I'm just a big horror fan in general. So
See, and Resident Evil's. I'm not a big horror fan because I get terrified, but I love Resident Evil.
Interesting.
It's my soap opera.
That's a tortured life you have to lead.
I'm miserable all the time.
By the way, Zach, people should know out there. Zach, how old are you?
26.
He's got the heart of a 54-year-old. Every reference he makes is from 1972.
You guys always say I'm a 70s guy. I'm an all of it guy.
No, just early crappy 70s stuff.
As somebody who has lived with him for 3 months, I can verify this.
His shampoos from 1983. I brought up Donna Summers, and you rattled off like 16 little-known facts about Donna Summers.
Okay, fun little-known fact about Donna Summer
is
that there's no S at the end of her last name.
I'm 30 years old. I don't know this crap.
I'm 26.
Explain it. Anyways, Manon, what feature are you most proud of?
I'm probably most proud of the interview I did with Donna Bailey and Carol Shaw.
There's no Summer in that name. I don't care.
Yeah, you're right. What was I thinking?
Donna Bailey.
Sorry, who are these wonderful people?
These are Donna Bailey is the creator of Centipede, the arcade game that was, like a huge sensation at the time.
Yeah.
Kind of went everywhere.
Well, Zach knows it well, yeah.
Yeah, right up his alley there. And Carol Shaw is recognized as the first video game designer in video game history for the work she did for Atari back in the 80s. And just sort of talking to them and hearing about their big projects, River Raid and Centipede, and what it was like in the early days of the industry was just like so cool.
It's a really cool piece.
Yeah, how do you find it? What's the headline people should Google?
It's highlighting history's first female game designers, and it's got a nice little hack and slash image job that I put together of Centipede and River Raid next to each other, and it's
I'm sure our production department loved that.
Yeah, but it was really, really cool. They're both, these are huge games that were so influential. Even today, like, people will always recognize Centipede, people will always recognize River Raid, and there's a lot of great comments from readers about their nostalgia for like, oh man, I remember playing Centipede, never knew it was, by Donna Bailey. I did River Raid, never knew it was by Carol Shaw. It's just like really, really cool to have this bit of history and tied into the Strong Museum's recent Women in Games initiative.
Oh, okay.
They're trying to get an exhibit together of like sort of the invisible contributors to video game history, like women at Atari or things like that, coming out next year. So
cool.
It's pretty fun.
So you guys, I left the most wide possible gap for you guys with this podcast about what you wanted to do, what you wanted to talk about.
Yes.
It seems like Back of the Box was the winner.
Yep.
Yeah, we I came in and I was like, guys, I think we should talk about the good vibes of like co-op and our best experiences. And Jordan was just like, no, we want competition, man. We're gonna do this.
Cutthroat Back of the Box trivia.
We'll demand blood.
Yeah. So if this is the first time listening to this, here's how this works. Back of the Box trivia. I go into Game Informer's Game Vault, which has almost every game ever made. I take my wonderful iPhone 7, 8. What the hell is this?
Take some pictures.
And I take some pictures of the back of these game boxes. Then I'm going to read off the descriptions, omitting key details that would obviously give it away. You buzz in when you think you know what game I'm describing the back of the box of by saying your name out loud.
Where's my buzzer?
The buzzer is your tongue, sir.
The buzzer is in mine.
Yes, you say your name out loud. Everybody gets one guess, right? If two of you buzz in, the third person can sit back, hear the entire description, but they have to, in order to get the point, put their hands behind their head and say the phrase, I could get used to this.
Okay.
Now, Zach, you're acting confused, but these are very strict rules. I didn't come up with them. The good Lord did.
You didn't?
No, on the 8th day.
Really?
Yeah.
You didn't come up with that, with the...
Absolutely not. Hand to God, absolutely not. So,
Zach is already at a clear disadvantage here, having forgotten the key phrase.
Yeah, what's the key phrase? I can get used to this.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go. So, because you guys are all in your younger 20s, or, at least on the outside,
give me a break.
The inside.
Okay,
we're focusing on a recent game generation. So these game boxes are all from the Xbox 360.
Okay.
Who could forget the old? What was the code name for that thing? Never mind. The old swirling green itself.
Yeah.
Xbox 360.
That's it. There you go.
Are you guys ready? First game box.
Oh boy.
Buzz in with your name. Don't blow it. Ready? Split screen co-op. Up to 4 players. 4 elite agents. 1 lethal team. Join blank 9 and combine weapons powered by alien blank technology. Zach.
Fuse.
There we go. By the way, I should point out first to 5 wins. I feel like we missed that crucial detail.
Oh, wow.
Zach's that one.
Uh-oh.
Fuse from Insomniac, proudly on a Game Informer cover back in the day.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right. There's no help coming. A massive deep space.
Jordan. Dead Space.
Wow.
Wow.
Jordan, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Massive deep space. I knew you were a horror guy. I was actually counting on you there.
Yeah.
All right, this is clever. I didn't get it at first. Don't beat 'em, join 'em.
Mm.
Here's your ticket to visit the incredible blank island. Meet the wild roaming living blank who are Manon.
Viva Pinata?
Viva Pinata,
Oh
man! And this is a
my
tie
God.
game. Don't beat 'em, join 'em. What's more clever than that?
Yep.
All right, ready? Oh yes, I'm sorry.
The Kirby Air Ride slogan: "If you can't beat 'em, eat 'em."
It's good. There's also the StarCraft 1 motto: "The only allies are enemies."
That's
So,
good.
I
That's
mean-
good stuff.
And there's the
just
film The
so
Core,
deep.
which made it very clear from 2004: "The only way out is in."
Ooh.
Anyways, here's a quote: "Blank's nonstop action leaves us with racing pulses." I'm sorry, with racing pulses. This is the kind of writing you'd expect from a quote from a Game Informer on the back of this box.
Okay.
Unearthly special attacks and combos. Fight with katanas, shotguns, and more. Caught in the middle of an age-old rivalry, Blank uses her demon summoning powers to fight off legions of angelic enemies.
Jordan. Bayonetta.
There we go, Jordan.
Oh.
Jordan, you have like 16 ticks before you say your name. You go, oh, and then you get up on the mic, and then you tap the table, and then you say your name. What the hell is this? Oh, okay. Epic Fantasy Reborn. Oh, it got the Game Informer Best of E3. Oh, in 2011. Epic Fantasy Reborn. The next chapter in the Blank saga arrives from Blank, the makers of the 2006 and 2008 Game of the Year. Zach.
Skyrim.
There we go, Zach. Well done, man. 2006, 2008 Game of the Year. That was good. That's a very year-based one.
I almost said Dragon Age, and then when you said 2006 and 2008, I was like, it's not. They weren't talking about Mass Effect.
Totally not. All right. 2 lives, 2 fates, only one legendary journey. Play as Blank, a strong, brutish loner who must work with a tech-savvy partner. Jordan.
Enslaved.
Jordan. That was absurdly quick.
Yep.
Did everybody here play a lot of 360?
I never played Enslaved.
I did play a lot of 360.
Wow.
I
What stood out
got
there?
an Xbox last year.
Okay. Oh, boy, Zach, you're doing good. You're at 2.
I think it was the 2 lives thing. I was instantly like, okay, so there's one of those type things. And then the tech savvy thing, I was a second off from
Wow.
saying it. I was
All right.
right there.
Here's a tough one. This is grade A. Grade A tough, you guys. Who can stop the rain?
Jordan. Silent Hill Downpour.
Oh my God. Here's the thing.
Man.
I saw that and I said, this is such a deep cut. I don't know who's going to get it. I remember Jordan was a huge Silent Hill fan. I never assumed that he'd already be at 4 points
Bordering
now.
on apologist.
Oh, really?
I'm never bordering on apologies.
How dare you?
How do you like Silent Hill Downpour?
I like Silent Hill Downpour.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Give me your ranking of mainline Silent Hills.
Oh boy. Okay. Silent Hill 2 at the top. Silent Hill 3, and this is contentious. This is for me only.
Sure.
Silent Hill Homecoming. I have a lot of memories for that game. Then probably Silent Hill 4, Downpour Origins, and then I'd put Shattered Memories, even though it's not quite fully canon, up in the upper echelon.
What about that book one?
Oh,
What was that called?
That book.
Book of Memories.
That's
Book
what
of Memories.
it was called. That book one.
It's that's a special.
That was when they
Where does
stopped
Silent
caring
Hill
about the
Pachinko
titles.
stand?
right with the book one.
Pachinko.
Boy. Here's a question.
Yeah.
Would you ever consider putting PT somewhere in that line?
Oh yeah, PT probably just as an experience, it's probably up there with Shattered Memories.
Wow. All right. Here we go. Jordan's at 4. Zach's at 2. Mannon's at 1. Come on, Mannon.
Oh my god! Oh, I got the
What's
Viva
going on?
Pinata though.
That was good. That was good. You can do better. Come on. Defy reality. Own the planet. Own it. Survive 9 of the world's deadliest blanks as you outrun avalanches, ride in total darkness. Zach.
SSX.
Correct. This is the reboot of SSX, originally called SSX Deadly Descents, which is why I left out the word descents. From Everest to Kilimanjaro to Mont Blanc, race and trick across the world's most iconic mountain ranges. I forgot that they modeled it after like real mountains.
Wait, was
Like
the
Steve.
tagline for that "Defy Reality"?
Yeah.
Rule the planet?
Defy reality, race on these real mountains.
It was 2011. It was a different time.
This is a much
Symbolic.
stupider
I was
time.
thinking
Don't worry,
something
sir.
else entirely.
What the hell is this game?
Oops.
Well,
When the
I
game
got
master
it.
doesn't know.
Okay. Remember the past to fight the future.
Zach,
What? Zach?
remember me?
Interesting, but no.
Nope.
Manon, you were chomping at. I have
Manon?
more. Manon?
Singularity?
Incorrect.
Oh.
You guys are going to be pissed when you hear it. You were left for dead on the ice-covered wastelands of EDN 3. You awaken with only fragments of your memory. You must find your past, fight off your enemies, and battle the elements to survive. All that can be trusted is your instinct as a soldier.
So that's too easy, though.
Yes?
But if I win, the game will be over.
Would you like to take this point? Let's go, Hotshot.
A Lost Planet.
Not only did you not say your name, but that point does not count because you did not say I could get used to this. So therefore, you did not win, Jordan. The game is still going.
No.
You cocky SOB. Do I really want to win like this, ladies and gentlemen? Jordan style?
Was it?
The tragic hair
Is it Lost
flip.
It was Lost Planet 1.
Alright,
Totally.
So,
All right.
for the record,
Jordan, you're at 4. Zach, you're at 3. Manon at 1. Here we go. Forge your destiny. You have been reborn. Your future unwritten. Now the fate of blank lies in your hands. Explore the far corners of an expansive and immersive new fantasy world.
Zach. Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning.
Amazing
Wow.
full name. Kingdoms of
Thank
Amalur
you.
Reckoning.
That was a good one.
Very good. Did you play that?
I interviewed Grant Kirkhope.
And he just brought it up. I forgot he did that
Yeah.
soundtrack.
Cult
That's right.
classic.
Very true. Okay. Oh, tie game between Zach and Jordan now. Oh, Jordan.
I'm just
classic
happy to be
blunder.
here, guys.
Classic rookie blunder. All right. A dark and violent crime thriller set against the backdrop of 1940s.
Jordan.
Oh,
Jordan.
man.
L.A. Noire.
Yeah, Jordan takes it with L.A. Noire.
So I wanted to say it as soon as you said the very first couple of words, but I was like, just in case, waited too long.
It's all right. See, look, Jordan is the official victor and now champion intern for this round, but we have more to go through. You guys want to go through the rest?
Yes. Okay, yeah.
All right, this is run up.
course.
This doesn't count for anything.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
just for S's and giggles, as they say.
The pressure's off now.
4 survivors in an epic struggle, fighting hordes of swarming.
Zach.
Zach.
Left 4 Dead.
Wow. Swarming zombies. Correct. Very good, Zach. Now you come out swinging.
It's hilarious that I got it correct because I was actually thinking of Dead Island. But it, boop.
All right, this one is obvious. War like you've never experienced before.
Zach.
Oh, okay, Zach.
Call of Duty 2.
Interesting guess, but no.
Ah.
Confront new and ruthless enemies across the Pacific and European battlefields in the final days of World War II.
Jordan.
Jordan.
Call of Duty World at War.
There we go. Nicely done. Very timely. This won Game of the Show E3 2012 from Game Informer and MSNBC. A city unlike any other. Stalk the streets of blank where...
Manon. Dishonored.
There we go, Manon.
I did it.
Nice.
Back in this game that's over.
Woo!
Oh, what is this turd? Okay. The destiny of the world, the heart of one hero.
Aw. I like
I
that.
feel like if I just leave a pregnant pause, you guys will get it. Nope. It is written that the dragon seeks out those who would stand up. Manon.
Blue Dragon?
Incorrect. Great guess, though.
Oh, you
who would
said
stand
dragon.
up against the darkness. They say that the one whose heart is taken by the dragon is forever changed. You have been chosen. Your destiny now lies with said dragon. You are now an arisen. Jordan.
Dragon's Dogma.
There we go. Hey, you guys are really good. I think you're doing better than a lot of
GI
Game
editor.
Informer editors would do. Yeah. I'm not going to point fingers. Let's say it rhymes with Schmandy Schmacknamara. All right, here we go. 2020. Corporations control everything.
Jordan.
Manon.
Jordan.
Syndicate.
Incorrect. Manon.
Brink.
Incorrect.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Manon, Brink! Just immediately. Corporations control everything with one exception. Got a snort from Manon. All right. Oh, then it repeats. The year is 2020. We get it. The future is blank. Ruthless corporations compete. Okay, we get it. Compete in a savage, unseen war for global domination, fueled by vengeance. Blank is thrown into a raging battle of corporate conspiracy and corruption, where truth and the fate of the world rests on the barrel of her gun. Leap into the next generation of gaming as you guide Blank in the gripping prequel.
Zach, I can get used to this.
Oh, you should have flipped those, but yes, sir.
Perfect Dark Zero.
There we go. That classic. I don't know if you guys heard, but anywhere is possible. Jump through time and space and live without boundaries. You are Griffin, a teenager who can teleport.
Jordan.
Jumper. Hell yeah, Jumper. Have you heard that
Wow.
every legend has a beginning? Welcome to Blank, heart of the Blank's military power and home to the iconic Blank super soldiers. For decades, humanity has fled from the relentless Blank threat, but now the largest Blank fleet ever witnessed looms in the darkened skies over Blank.
Manon? Is that Halo Reach?
Great job!
Okay.
Yeah, well done. Halo Reach. It's tough to choose what Halo one would have the
Exactly.
most vague but interesting backstory. Fight the Fear. After the events of the landmark Blank trilogy, the Blank are sent on a rescue mission to the planet
Zach.
Jordan.
Zach.
Aliens, Colonial Marines.
There we go. Well done.
I knew that tagline too. Oh,
It's Fight the Fear.
yeah.
Fight the fear of the Metacritic.
Hey.
Unleash the powers within you. So many games on 360 just start with that blanket nonsense. As Blank, morph into an astounding array of creatures. Jordan.
The Darkness.
Incorrect.
Manon. This is totally a joke, but also I hope it's true. Ben 10.
Incorrect.
Dang.
Oh, wait. Did you play Ben 10 on 360?
No, but man, have I seen so many cases of that on GameStop walls.
Oh, wow.
Like...
I know what it is now, too.
As Blank, morph into an astounding array of creatures as you travel through a world of action-packed adventure. Harness the power of your inner warriors on a quest to rescue elemental ancestors and destroy the Dark Troll King, Thorn. Who can forget him? Draw on the power of 10 elemental warriors. Explore the epic, enchanting world of Blank. Take on fierce foes in fast-paced combat.
Is it Cameo, Elements of Power?
Zach, what is this?
I have no idea what it is.
Zach, what was that attitude?
Is that correct?
You either have to commit that I could get used to this. That was the most half-assed I could get used to this pose I've ever seen.
I don't think that counts.
Well, because I'm not used to it. But was it correct?
He can't get used to it.
You can get used to it, and you will get used to it. You are 100% correct.
I
It is
can get
Cameo.
used to this.
There we go. All right, Cameo. Who can forget?
That's another one that I would not have gotten unless I had interviewed Grant Kirkhope.
Oh, of course.
Because I don't think he actually did the music for that, but
It came
because
up?
I did Steve Burke also.
Oh, okay. And he did the music for that?
Yeah.
How confusing. Do you want to plug that interview? What is it?
Oh, it was two. I did one because they all worked on ukulele.
Okay.
It was Grant Kirkhope, Steve Burke, and David Wise.
David Wise.
So I did one where it was all three of them, and I had like an hour with Grant, enough to do a separate profile on him.
Oh, awesome.
And his career.
Great. Check it out.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Check it. East side, west side, your side.
Story?
Yeah, east
Jordan.
side, west side story. Jordan.
Saints Row.
Incorrect. Demand your respect. Build your empire using an arsenal of rocket launchers, stun guns, and satchel charges. Crush your competition. Complete the campaign in co-op. Or multiply the mayhem.
Zach. 50 Cent Blood on the Sand.
Incorrect. Multiply the mayhem in online open world gameplay. Make your mark. Transform your crib, crew, and ride with total character customization.
I could get used to this.
Uh-huh.
Manon. God, so many of them. Saints Row 2.
Correct! Man, Saints Row 2! By the way, I know you guys are on your way out the door, so it's useless. You're supposed to say I could get used to this. When the other person fails, then you can sit back and listen to the whole description. I understand. It's protocol, but it's loose.
Okay.
Like, I need Ben Reeves here
Plain
to
and
glare
fast
you
and
down while he talks about it. All right, here we go. An ancient threat returns. One final hope emerges?
Jordan. Halo 3.
Incorrect.
Oh, no. Never mind.
As blank, you lead an elite squad on a heroic, action-packed adventure throughout the galaxy. Action-packed adventure. Discover the imminent danger from an ancient threat and battle the...
Manon. Mass Effect 2.
Incorrect. Battle the traitorous blank and his deadly army. Zach, do you have something to say?
No, I'm getting used to it.
Okay. Boy, you kids are bloated. To save civilization, the fate of all life depends on your actions. Customize your character and embark in an epic adventure in an immersive, open-ended storyline, interplanetary exploration of an epic proportion. Come on, Zach. Incredible real-time character interaction, thrilling tactical combat as you lead an elite squad of 3.
Oh.
Okay. Mass Effect.
Correct.
I can get used to this. Hands behind my head.
And say your name, Zach.
There
There we
Zach
go.
was
You got it. Oh, you know,
Went
this
too
old
far.
this old thing. Oh. Who will you become? Beginning as a penniless
Manon. Fable 2.
Amazing! Amazing!
Coming out
Not
swinging.
gonna lie, that is one of my favorite games for the 360. I played so many hours of that.
Penniless! Oh, of course, Fable 2. Of course, that's
Naturally.
amazing. All right, well, with that kind of pull, I think Manon is the honorary winner, even though technically
thank
Jordan
you.
will be wearing the crown for
Oh,
future
thank you.
generations.
It's
Any-
only fitting.
Any other highlights you guys want to share from your internship? Anything else you want to say about it? Recommendations for future interns or people applying?
You
Anything
have
like that?
an amazing singing voice.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much.
It's true. Your
I
dance
serenade
moves.
them every morning.
Yeah, make sure to any future interns, make sure you can get Hanson to sing Uptown Funk at least once.
Or,
Really
or,
had an
or a
impact.
different song. You know, he did Uptown Funk is for us.
That's true.
You know,
Okay, yeah,
you can do.
We're taking that with
This
us.
was a rock band night, by the way.
There's-
Just for a little context. What's going on.
There's Take on Me.
Oh,
No,
wonderful.
he just stumbled into our little corner down here one day and started busting out "do."
What's he saying?
Do.
He just been saying do in the corner for what seems like a lifetime. Advice for future interns? Things to focus on?
I'd say go out of your comfort zone a little bit. You know, I'm pretty camera shy, to be perfectly honest. But
I have bad news for you right now.
yeah. Wait, what? But you know, doing stuff like this, writing about things that I've never really played before, I've learned a lot, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'm a little bit less terrified of these mics are taller than me,
Never
but I'm not as
intimidating.
scared anymore.
Oh, that's nice. That's good advice. We should point out that the next intern group, I think, is already locked down.
Oh, really?
But definitely keep an eye on the site, and you can definitely apply in the future. I believe it's going to be Ben Reeves and Jeff Cork fielding through 1,000 applications and whatnot. But if you Google Game Informer internship, I'm sure it'll come up. But we always post repeatedly about that. But hey, you guys, thank you for your honorable service. We appreciate it. We hope you learned something. Hope you got something out of it. We definitely did. And it's genuinely always a thrill to see where interns go. It's always just this shotgun blast where we have a lot of people go through the system down here on the third floor of Game Informer. And then it's like, all right, bye. And then they always end up somewhere interesting. It's like, oh my gosh, look at this Game Informer intern over here. And now we have connections over here. This is amazing. So it's nice to send you guys out on a great journey, and best of luck in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Hey,
Hanson.
give yourself a hand. Nice round of applause. You really did it. All right. And thank you so much for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday, and we'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.